What's up? Hello, everybody. First things first, I want to say thank you so much to every single person who took the time to listen to People Talking Sitting Down episode number 1. This feels absolutely wild to be recording another episode. It took 4, almost 5 months just to get one episode out. So we're working on 3 weeks to get episode number 2 out. Just recorded episode number 4 today. Who knows when that'll come out. But not only thank you to everybody for listening, watching, reading, consuming the content that we've been putting out in any form or fashion. I want to send a special thank you to everybody who reached out to me with heartfelt messages. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I was prepared for all the love. I rode on the high for the first week after putting out the episode, and then quickly fell into my own scared, nervous, anxious, imposter syndrome type states. As I mentioned in the first introduction, watch me stumble through this. That's going to happen. And again, to everybody who took the time to reach out and share either personal stories, words of encouragement, a like, a follow, literally anything. This is my dream, to be able to sit here and talk to people about their life, their emotions, their feelings, their story. And the fact that that dream is becoming a reality because of the support of everybody who's watching this right now, it's like pinch me type stuff. And I'm forever grateful. And I wish I could literally be sitting with each of you right now, physically, instead of just digitally. But to preface today's episode, so second, third, whatever it is. Again, thank you to everybody for the feedback. I got so much constructive feedback, and a couple of those things were introducing my guest, which I'll do in a minute, adding a disclaimer, because a lot of the topics that we talk about, there's some that may be triggering, there's some that may be tough to hear. So I'm going to read a disclaimer or recite a disclaimer that I've written. And then also in the show notes, I'm going to do my best to provide as many resources as possible for different readings, listenings, teachings, anything that I can find on some of the topics that we're going to talk about today, because there are some tough topics today. There's some interesting topics, but there's definitely some sensitive ones. Today's episode is with my cousin Jack. As you'll quickly learn, Jack and I absolutely love talking to each other. We love spending time together. Jack, if you're listening, you're watching, you know how much I love you. But I want to say, and I need to say, specifically, that there are topics that if you feel that you are not ready to listen to, or you're uncomfortable at any moment, please, please, please take care of yourself, turn it off, stop listening, whatever you need to do. And if anybody needs to reach out to me after listening to this episode for any reason, to talk anything out, please do. I will help in whatever way I can. Again, I'm no professional. I'm just a human being. But a lot of the topics and things that we talk about in this episode, I know a bit about, and I can help if anybody needs. That being said, I'm going to pull up my my disclaimer right now. Before that, a couple of the the things that we talk about. Jack shares his story of being a young child and going through and feeling the emotions of his parents' divorce. He also talks about the anxiety of being a little bit lost as a kid in high school. And I'll actually put a little bit of this in the show notes because it will be a trigger warning. And I don't want to even have anybody listen to something that they're not ready for. We talk about being sexualized as a young kid. It's a discussion that I know is very tough to listen to for many people. I understand why. And at the end of the day, this is something that a lot of children, men, teenagers, and people in general, grown adults, deal with. They're conversations that need to be had. And to be quite honest, I'm insanely proud of Jack for his strength, comfortability, and willingness to share his story. To end this on a positive note, again, thank you guys. I love you all, and now we'll get to our disclaimer. But as always, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be about it, and I I really appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Thank you. I want to preface this conversation with a warning that we will be discussing difficult and sensitive topics throughout this episode. Terms or topics that we use during this episode may be viewed as inappropriate if viewed or listened to out of context. This podcast focuses on the past, the present, the future, and our ever-changing reality. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
All right, we're running. So we just meditated.
Yeah,
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
What were you thinking about?
Honestly, well, first I started thinking about when they gave us that like moment or couple of minutes to just sit in silence and breathe. I was just trying to focus on like breathing in love and then like kind of letting love like go all over my body. And then from that, I was when we got into like the scanning the whole body and like letting that brightness out and kind of like, I don't know, I took it as like letting like light shine out of you. So
Interesting.
That's the way I was like perceiving it. So I was like trying to let it shine out and then like kind of touch other people in the world and then like come back to me. Like trying, like kind of just how like electrical current goes, like just trying to, I don't know.
It makes me feel so selfish because I was thinking about light coming in.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was doing at first as well.
Yeah.
And then like after like letting my body kind of, I feel like get filled with that light and that love, trying to connect with you, connect with like families. Like I told you last night, like when we meditated yesterday about kind of letting that love of like family members, friends, girlfriend, like into you. And because like they want the best for you. So like why not try to accept that love and try to accept, because like I know people pray for me, I pray for people, and why not try to like let those prayers and let those like loving emotions in from other people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my focus this weekend. So
That's funny. So I guess like the meditation we did, it was like a finding focus headspace pack, but had like an aspect of visualization. And when I've done that before, that was like one of the trippiest meditations I've ever done. Not right now, but when I did a visualization, they were talking about, letting the light into you and like feeling the light come in and feeling like I was a part of this world and the energy and everything was flowing. Like I lost my sense of my body and my feeling of being locked inside this body.
Yeah.
And I literally felt like one with like, and that's again, like, you can use drugs to like get there, but like the most natural way of meditation to get there makes me laugh because that's what they've been doing for like thousands of years. That's how they got to do it. That's how it all started. I don't know. It's just fascinating.
it is wild, like how like breathing exercises, you can like get high apparently, or like you said, like through breathing, through meditation, sitting in quiet, like you felt a psychedelic trip almost without taking the psychedelics. And
Yeah.
it's kind of fascinating how, I don't know, it's like locked inside us somewhere.
Well, since we always tell each other literally what's going through our head. Well, dude, so right after meditating, because I told you yesterday that my usual routine is to meditate or make bed, meditate, make sure I'm not on my phone, and then journal. And then after I journal, doing the man in the glass. So like, I'm literally just gonna say right now, that's what I was thinking about when I was meditating. I was like, I always say the man in the glass poem after I meditate. And like first off, like the backstory of Aiden let me know about this poem, I don't know, many months ago. And when I was up at your place a month ago, I was like, dude, you gotta listen to this poem. You gotta hear this poem. It's so helpful. But just for like my own, like, I don't know, it's so helpful. And I guess, yeah. So it's, now watch, I'm gonna blank on it.
Yeah.
But when you get what you want and you're struggling for yourself and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Some people may say you are a straight shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. He's the fellow to please, never mind of the rest, for he's with you clear up to the end. And you've passed your most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down your pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass.
Dude, I love that.
I love it too. And it was funny. So when I said that poem to you up there, you like jumped up got the note card. And you're like, here it is. It's written down. Now I keep it in my journal to the page that I'm about to write on that day. But when I was meditating, I was thinking about that poem, and I was thinking about, how do you feel? How do you feel about the man in the glass that you look at today?
Well, today I'm definitely getting more comfortable with the man in the glass, because I'm finally looking at the man in the glass for who he is. Because we thought about it before many times, like for years, I just hid who I was, or because I would push down emotions, push down feelings, always just try to be what I thought other people wanted me to be, and never like was my authentic self. So I never knew who the man in the glass was, because I was always, you could say, like wearing a mask or wearing a different outfit. I was never being my authentic self. So it was hard to like attract what I wanted in life, and hard to, find happiness when you're just constantly running from who you are, running from yourself. And that's literally now it's a little easier looking at the man in the glass, because I have a better idea of who he is. And I still have a lot of work to do. It's going to be an everyday thing, and everyday ego death, and everyday learning new things about myself. But it's getting easier and getting better. And there's definitely a lot of tools that can help with that. And there's a lot of people that you can talk to. And it's like, just like once you like put yourself out there and like have real conversations like we do, and like be like, this is how I'm feeling, and this is what's going through my mind or my head. And sometimes it's bullshit. Like it's like, and I have to say it out loud so you can tell me it's bullshit. I go, yeah, you're right. That is bullshit. I should, like, why am I thinking that? But like, if I just keep that in and don't talk about it, then I'm going to create that narrative in my own mind, and I'm going to make it truth in my world. So like, if I, whatever you want to say I'm a piece of shit every fucking day, and you don't see me as a piece of shit, everyone else does, and in myself I do, then I'm going to be a piece of shit. That's what I'm going to attract. That's the person I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And
just that kindness to yourself.
Yeah. It's so, dude, all like, and so cliche, but it all starts within.
Yeah.
And like, once you're good with yourself, like then you can start helping other people and being there for people, and being like, I don't know, just being happier. And like, then you'll like attract the right people in your life once you like go deep inside and like look for yourself, and like look for the man you want to be, the man you are. And yeah. It is. It's funny when you say that, and you always say that about like the being within and the ego and everything like that. Cause I've found myself again, every time that I like something about somebody else bothers me, I'm like, oh no, that's just a reflection of what's going on inside. Something that bothers me about me, that I am like seeing in somebody else, and it's bothering me that they're doing it. But really it's like, there's that internal confusion and ego, and that's like, and you have changed my life in many ways, but like one of the main ones is the work that you've done on your ego, thinking about it, talking about it. It literally is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I would love for you to walk me through how you go about it, like where this kind of thing started. And then also just to talk about like Friday night, where we talked about the conversation just being like a competitive thing, when you said that thing about like, I've heard that quote in AA, and like why you jumped in, and then how you immediately jumped to explain that. And that got us both, again, as you're saying, on the same page. And just then I had an understanding of where your head was at. And then I was like, wait, I wasn't thinking that at all. So can you just like walk through that? Yeah, we'll walk through. So Christopher, obviously you had the guy Tommy on last week, and you're explaining what you guys talked about and stuff like that, and what he said about like my problem is Tommy, like not the drugs, basically. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I've heard, and then I immediately jumped out and was like, oh, I've heard that so much in AA. And I was pushing my ego and pushing like to try to show you that I know the same thing Tommy does, or you should look at me and I'm smart too. Like, and like try to get my point across. And like right after I did that, I sat with it for a second. I think like 2 minutes later, I brought it back up to you. And I was like, I feel that now. I feel like when I am trying to press my ego into situations, and I'm trying to like up myself or try to make myself good through like getting validation through you or other people, like trying to be like, oh, Christopher, look at me, look how great I am. Like, let me tell you all the knowledge I know. Like, don't look at Tommy. And it all comes from fearful, because I'm nervous about sitting down talk with you, and wanting the competitiveness of wanting it to be better than how it went last week. And so it's just like that all coincides with my ego and trying to like boost it up by saying that. And just now, like, dude, it's a daily thing of like realizing it. And some days I'm good at noticing it, and some days I don't notice till like 8 hours later. It's like, dude, why the fuck did I say that? Or why did I try to like push my narrative or push my story into a situation where I could just sat back and like let it play out how it's supposed to and let someone finish a thought or see where the conversation was going and not interject my own opinions right away. Like if someone asks me, yeah, great. But if I like stop a conversation to get my point of view across, because I want you to look at me and see how great I am, which is just it's so selfish, egotistical, and it all comes from like a place of fear, wanting to be loved, like wanting acceptance. And that goes back to what we just talked about, like getting that acceptance from yourself and within. Like if you're feeling good within, like if I wasn't feeling nervous about today and wanting to be better than how Tommy's went, I wouldn't have interjected that so quickly to be like, oh, I would have let you finish the story and be like, oh, I actually heard that in AA as well. It's kind of cool that people do that. It's cool. It's cool that Tommy does that as well, because it is a me problem. And like, you know what I mean? And, but I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just like, it makes me laugh because part of my excitement about coming in and having this conversation with you was I laugh. Like if somebody could watch us talk to each other, just because the way that we like unravel every single thought, I'd be like, we woke up the other day, looked outside and it was just like, oh, like all the cars, like look at the cars. They're each a person. Like everyone's got their own thing. Like this crazy world. We're looking at the buildings. We're just like, our heads are just like our thoughts. And we're kind of just like literally talking through everything that's going. And we're with that level of comfortable with each other where we just say it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you jumped in and said that, A, was really cool to understand the way that you were thinking in that moment and why you said it. B, I didn't take that the way that you were internalizing it at all. So as we talked about being like, oh, like that was your reality in that moment. Well, me, I was like, oh, that's a sick thing. I immediately was like, oh, now I know something else. Jack just gave me some knowledge, and you said it, but like knowing what was going on in your head in that like process was, not only cool, but it meant the world to me because obviously, and I like annoy myself with how much I talk about this, but I care so much about this working, and the fact that we're on episode 2 and you care that much about being better than episode 1 and not better in the sense of, I mean, obviously you just walked through it, but like we talked about being nervous and both of us being nervous because we care. And like, it's a good level of nervous. And like, I had a boss that said like, if you weren't nervous, it'd be a bad thing because then you just don't give a shit what happens.
Right.
And like that doesn't, so like in that moment, you explaining it just gave me so much insight to like where your head was at. And you just gotten in, we were hanging out all weekend.
But the thing is too, is like, if I held that in and didn't tell you about that, I would have let that fester inside of me because I would have noticed it. And then I would have held that in and like pushing down emotions, be like, all right, well, I did that. I'm not going to address it. I'm just going to push it down and not go face to face with that like my clear ego bursting out of me because I need to be loved and I need to be seen, which is like, it gets me worked up because like I feel gross when I do that.
Yeah.
So if I sit in it and don't bring it up, like it's just going to come out in other ways, in negative ways. But since we talked about it and I addressed it, and you gave your point of view on it, and we like were able to talk about it, it's like, oh, now I can let this go and move on and see that like that was ridiculous and we could laugh about it.
Yeah.
And like if you don't do that, then you're not opening yourself up to, I don't know, hearing different sides and hearing different people's opinions and like getting through it. And next time being like, oh, I can sit in quiet, I can sit and listen, and then like answer a different way, and I'll actually feel good and I won't feel shitty about it. It's like,
it's funny that you're saying this because this is the internal hell that I am putting myself in by being on this side of things. When you're talking, when anybody's talking in any conversation ever, because I just love talking to people and want to talk to people for as long as possible. Yeah. I'm always thinking of the next thing to say. I'm always thinking, so like they'll bring up a point and so like they might be talking for 2 minutes and 10 seconds in, my natural thing is like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say next.
Yeah.
And then I let them talk. And then I bring up my point from 10 seconds in. And it's like, well, no, I just need, like what I'm trying to do actively is identify that. Like, oh, I understand that I want to jump in with this point, but I don't know where they're going with their point. So they could bring up something totally else. And if I'm stuck on the one thing that, oh, I'm going to say, like, well, then I'm not having an active conversation and I'm not being a good listener. And like, that's, I mean, again, here, I have to listen. I got to, do whatever, but it's fun too. It's like, I like that again, like you talk so much about growth and we just geek out on it too. And it's just been fun to grow in that way. But no, so what, the funny thing is, all right, so we grew up suburbs of Philadelphia, main line, or like near the main line. We're in Philly right now. And you did something that I find very interesting, is moving up to Scranton, which is just like wild. There's not that much up there. Although when I went to visit, I was like in love with it, because I was like, there's not that much up there. And it's just so nice. The people are just chill. There's no rush about anything. Makes me laugh. Reminds me of like you walking slow, me speed walking all over the place yesterday. But like, what made you move up to Scranton? I remember you touching on a little bit about the story of you getting a job in the electricity industry and field. How did you make that decision at like, such a young age?
Well, I had a lot going on in my life at the time, and just a lot of demons I was getting through and stuff like that. And when I first got into the electrical field, like my uncle let's start from the beginning, I guess. So I went to college to D3, play football, had really no idea what I wanted to do, but had an opportunity to go to school to play. So I was like, all right, might as well just do that. And went first semester, was very depressed, did not enjoy it at all, was not happy with where I was at in life. Then came home, and when I came, I guess we can talk about the drinking after. I'll talk about electrical first. But came home and kind of took a gap year in between school and started working with my uncle's hardwood flooring company, and just doing that and working with family and cousins. Like I had a lot of fun and it was great. But through talking with him, like he, business owner, has a lot of like flooring and did flooring his whole life, and the it's so taxing on your body, like doing that blue collar work and that job. He kind of nudged me into the electrical field. And so I went to Delaware County to take electrical studies, and just like the trade department of Delaware County Community College. And so he kind of pushed me into it. And then the more I looked into it, like looking up like Nikola Tesla and like Thomas Edison, and like looking like how like electricity comes about, and like how this whole building is, being fed with electricity, and how everyone's life is kind of revolves around that. I was like, all right, this is pretty fascinating, cool. And so then I do the schooling while doing flooring, and eventually get a job with an electrical company, just doing like residential electric. And I did not enjoy that job. I was making like $14 an hour. It was like rough making ends meet, having to do that, and then bartend or serve on the weekends, and like juggling like 3 jobs, and trying to like also go out all the time and drink and drugs.
Let it rip a little.
Yeah. Have some fun.
Got to deal with it.
Yeah. So after that, I just started doing more research, and like looked up like Pico and like line work, and like working on power lines and stuff like that, which fascinated me. Like feeding whole communities and feeding whole neighborhoods and cities, like that's cool. Like being a part of like that creation, and like it's fascinating to me. So then I just kind of started doing some line work, started putting out resumes for line work, and for just like apprentice like levels positions. And I tried with Pico, tried out there, was waiting to hear back. And then ironically, it was funny. It was like one night, it was a Friday night, and the next morning I was supposed to go watch my cousin do a triathlon on my mom's
You mentioned you got after it that
Friday
Friday night.
Yeah. I was supposed to not drink and wake up at 5 a.m. to drive to like Allentown to go watch my cousin run this race. But I was like, I can just have one.
Yeah.
And with me, one, it was never one. One turned into like 20. Yeah. So I woke up that morning so hungover, and my usual tendency is like, I always wanted to be there for people and always wanted to show up, but my like drinking and drugging would get in the way of that. So that morning I, kind of had that crossroad where it's like, all right, you're going to stay in bed and blow it off again. Like, all the other families going, like, it won't matter if I don't go. But for some reason in my mind, it was like, no, just do it. Just go. And it was brutal. It was hard to get up and drive there. But, I did it because it was the right thing to do. And so I'm supposed to do as a man. It's like, you're just doing what you're supposed to do. But of course, I made it so much more difficult than it had to be. But so I made that decision and, went up there, saw my cousin, end up having a great conversation with his brother, talking about life and everything like that. So it was definitely a positive. And then on my way home from that, I passed this sign for the company I work for now. And I was like, ooh, that looks interesting. That kind of looks like Pico. That kind of looks like the same type of vibe. And it was outside of a substation, which like powers like neighborhoods and stuff like that in communities. So I just ran it, like kind of pulled over on the side of the road, like looked it up, and they had a position for they're hiring for what I was looking for. Literally on my way home, sent my resume to them, and then a week later, hear back, go take the test, take the written test, then next week get invited to come do the hands-on test, and then next week get invited for an interview, and then next thing you know, in the interview I was like, I'm willing to go wherever. You can send me wherever, and doesn't matter. Like, and so I got the job, and they sent me up to Scranton, and the rest is history. And I definitely feel like that's where I'm supposed to be, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's cool. Just I had that crossroad. It's like you make the wrong decision, and I stay home that day.
Yeah,
like who knows where I'm at now? And you go with the positive decision, and you go down that path, and a lot of good things happen.
Yeah. And obviously, as we'll get into that, I mean, that move to Scranton changed your life.
Oh, tremendous. Yeah.
Was, I guess the funny thing that I think about there is the domino effect of like the butterfly effect. Like you don't make that decision, what happens? Where are you at? We're honestly probably crushing drinks right now. If that,
this podcast's not happening.
But what is like some of the pros and cons of being up in Scranton and being like a little further away from home? You've obviously met a beautiful girlfriend and are very happy with that. But what are some good things, bad things? Living a little bit further away from, I guess, the hustle and bustle of being close to the city.
Well, I think definitely the cool thing about moving away is we have such a big family with the Kincaid side and my mom's side that like. Everyone always knows what you're doing down here, and like everyone knows, like, oh, someone knows someone that knows someone, and like it's just like it was cool to go up there and kind of like start your own path and like create your own environment, create your own like group of people up there, and like find out more about yourself, because it put me in an uncomfortable situation where it's like, all right, I don't know anybody up here. I'm starting a job that I never done before, and this is all new. So let's just see what happens, and just being open. So that definitely helped me just get out of my own comfort zone and, be more willing to try new things and find out what I'm interested in and find out what I, really love in life. And I feel like since it's not like hustle and bustle like it is down here, it's like you get a chance to kind of take a step back and take a breath, go hiking. It's like there's never traffic. It's just great. It's nice to like, when I go up to Scranton, like hit the mountains, it's like beautiful. It's like, it's like a deep breath. It's like, I'm home. Yeah. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I guess the only downfall is like it's only a 2-hour drive, but like not being as close to family and, having to like block off weekends to come to see you. And it's not like I can just like stop by real quick. So that'd be the only downfall to it really. But besides that, it's where I'm supposed to be right now. And it's like, I feel the most comfortable. And I've told you, like, I literally had the most euphoric experience. When I was, talk about like, getting comfortable with yourself. I took myself to the movies, like by myself when I like was like 4 months there. And I just walked out of the movie theater. It's like just a mountain view when you like walk out. And for some reason, something just clicked in my brain. It was like, this is exactly where you're supposed to be right now. Yeah. Like you're not supposed to be anywhere else besides this moment right now. Like you are on the right path. Like, and it was like you talked about like a psychedelic experience. Like I've never felt so clear. It was like literally like I was walking around like this, and then suddenly like the blinders just, opened up, and it was like, oh, like my life is great. Like I don't need to, like everything's fine. Like I don't need to create any more stress than it is. Like I like my apartment. I like my job. I like being in Scranton. Like everything's good. Like, and like all the noise just kind of quieted down. It was that was like my like moment where it's like, all right, you're supposed to be up here. Like enjoy it and be open to whatever comes next.
It's so beautiful, so beautiful. And I wonder if that had anything to do with just being like going to the movies by yourself, just doing your own thing, and just being like, I don't know. It's tough, as you said, about getting comfortable with yourself. Part of the hard thing is being alone. And that's what I always said as a kid, is like I needed to be surrounded by people at all times. I hated myself. So I needed to be like, people all over the place. And now through meditation, through all the, long hikes, like you said, doing things by yourself, it's like, wait, I'm all right. Like I'm kind of cool. Like
not that bad of a guy.
Yeah, like, I like hanging out with myself. It's like, it's fun. And now I'm honestly doing it too much. Like I need to like cut back. But obviously one thing that you do up there, down here, everywhere is working out. And we worked out yesterday for the first time since I, have lifted in college. And you pushed me at the end. I was so nervous about being sore. Doing all right. But how does working out, tell me a little bit about the mental game with the distractions that you've dealt with the cravings that you've dealt with, how working out has been a part of your journey before, after, and during kind of your, addiction history, struggles, and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think just the packing a bag each morning and being like, all right, after work, I'm going right to the gym. And it's like that discipline every day. It's like making your bed in the morning, like you talk about, like that's a part of making my bed. It's like, all right, I'm going to take an hour and I'm taking care of my body. And it's like, some days I fucking don't want to go and don't want to do it at all, but it's like, you just do it. And it's just that routine. Being in a routine is so huge to me. I just like having a daily routine and sticking to that routine. And if it strays, that's okay. But like having that one constant where it's like, this is my blueprint for a day. And it's okay if it gets messed up, but like on a good day, this is what I want it to look like. And this is the guy, and this is what I want to do. And, but just throwing the headphones on and being under like a bar or like getting dumbbells and being like, all right, it's literally just you and this weight. And if you can't push this up, like you're fucked. What are you gonna do? Like, I don't know, that little mental battle each day. Like I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy like feeling manly. Like I enjoy doing manly things. And it's like nice to like, go in there, push some weight and fucking leave and feel good and be like, all right, I did something. Like now I can go home, eat, and like relax. I took care of my body. I'm making the right moves, and because body, mind, spirit. So like, you gotta take care of each thing, and it just makes me feel better about myself. Like when I'm walking around, like I feel good. I don't feel like schlubby and like fat, and which we'll talk about. But like it's just such it's meditative. It brings out that inner like hunter-gatherer in you. Like, I feel like where it's like, all right, it's fucking, let's get after it.
Get to work.
Yeah.
It's funny what you said about the mental game, because that's something that I noticed yesterday. We're in the gym. There's probably 15 people in the gym. Everybody besides us had their headphones in. Everybody was in their own little world. And as we talked about yesterday about being like everyone's already in their own little metaverse. Everyone's already living in their own head. With their headphones, they're locked in and they're not like observing the other people around them because they got the music pumping. They're so focused and locked in on the weight. It's just funny to think about that mental, you kind of lock in. Do you do anything before you work out to get into that place? Like a routine? I know you take your pre-workout, but is there anything that you, like we talked about, like, all right, like it's go time. Like
nothing really. It's kind of just, I know once I throw those headphones on and pick a playlist, it's go time.
Yeah.
Throw on, some days it's EDM, some days it's rap, some days it's some R&B, but you never know. But yeah, I think it's just once I get to the gym, it's like, all right, like you're here for a reason. And it's literally once I do that, so once I get to that first set and it's usually whatever it may be, squats, bench press, it's like, all right, it's literally you and this weight. Like you're going down with it, whatever it is, and you got to bring it up. Yeah. So like that's kind of when I like dial in. It's like, all right, let's get it.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
It's fun. It's also fun like lifting with someone else. Like especially with you yesterday. Like, I'm so used to doing it by myself. It's fun to have someone there. It's like gives you a little more push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big reason I think that I haven't lifted in so long, because I had the opposite.
Yeah.
Playing lacrosse, we had 50 guys lifting and it was an entire spirit. We talk about like energy, getting the energy of 50 guys at 6 a.m.
They're fucking screaming.
Yeah. Pushing weights, like hyping you up no matter what. And not only that, but obviously with lifting, trying to be safe and not get hurt, always knowing kind of the opposite of what you're saying, knowing that if you can't get it up, you'll be fine.
Yeah, because you got someone there with you.
Because you have somebody, it allows you to try the higher weight, to try the, it's like, all right, well, like worst comes to worst, like somebody will put their hands on this and I'll be all right. I'll be fine. So once I like didn't have that, I feel like it was like, oh, like what can I like how's this gonna work? Growing up, growing up as kids, we got to hang out a lot. Our dads owned a business together. We got to spend, a ton of time together. I feel like we were either at your house, my house, like very young, probably 5, 6, 7 years old. And one thing that I always, I didn't notice it, or I guess I did notice it as a kid. But it was something that I remembered about you after going, probably 7, 8 years without, maybe even more, like without seeing each other. But you always walked around with your head tilted.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, why is always Jack's always looking at the world like this? Like, what is going on there? But then, I see you 10 years later and it's like straight up. And, so what is that? I don't want to say disease, but what is that?
It wasn't
condition?
It wasn't a condition or a disease. I did so my right eye was, way stronger than my left eye. And like something was detached, like slightly behind my left eye. So when I would focus at something, this would be so much more dominant that it would cause my head to tilt like this. And just like, this would be this would be straight for me. Cause this eye was taking dominant over this eye. So it was like, I think it was in like maybe 5th grade, 4th grade. I think it was 4th grade. I got surgery for it and they went behind it, fixed it. I had to sit in a dark room for a week with an eye patch on.
Whoa.
Yeah. And, it wasn't fun, but I'm happy that I went through it and can see straight now.
Did anybody ever say anything about it?
I definitely think I remember. Yeah. Like I remember getting my hair cut and the stylist always being like, Jack, please keep your head. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't.
It's like, you want me to look sideways? What do you mean?
So it wasn't a disease or anything. It's just vision's always been a problem. I have bad eyes, and that's always been an issue my whole life. But
I think that runs in the family on our side.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's.
But it's funny because you're like so used to it now. I don't even think about it. But so that was that, and I'm happy I don't have that anymore.
Do you wear contacts?
No. I just wear glasses.
Yeah, whenever.
Yeah, whenever I want.
And I rarely do too.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I'm just like,
I'm not wearing glasses.
just roll the dice.
Yeah. Can't remember. But tell me more about growing up. Like, I think that, especially in those early years, what growing up was like in your house, as we've talked about, our parents, like there's just so many things that what I'm so interested in and have been fascinated to learn about you is like, why you are the way that you are. There's so many different things, and something that you told me about your earliest moments in life, literally the entry to the world that had effects that like we're still, or you're still like digging through, and that we like to talk about because it's just like, whoa, I didn't realize that.
So when I was first born, I was born with an irregular heartbeat. So literally, like when I came out of the womb, like I was ripped right from my mother and like taken to an ambulance. I was born in Paoli Hospital and then taken to CHOP, like right after I was born in an ambulance. So I was like taken right from my mother and then spent my first month at CHOP. And so it was like just super stressful. Like now that I like look back on and see, it's like it was such a stressful thing to come into the world and especially be detached from my mother like that, like a infant's supposed to like be comforted. Like you just left the stomach, you're supposed to be like in your mother's arms. So like that made me like, I was attached to my mom's hip growing up. Like if she would put me like over here to take a picture, I'd be like crying, being like, where are you going? And like now looking back on it, it's like I'm getting over it now, but like my whole life I've carried that. When am I going to get taken? Like when am I going to be left alone? When is it going to be back to like, it's like I don't like, it's that fear, like it was that constant fear and that like looking back on my child and like trying to nurture that, inner child inside you. It's like, that I was just riddled with fear because I never wanted to be taken from my mother again. And I never wanted to be left alone again and never wanted to be in a like stressful situation again. So, but like my parents, both gave me like a wonderful childhood. Though my mother was super loving, and we had that deep connection. And it's cool now, like through getting sober and stuff like that. Like me and my mom were able to have deeper conversations, and her being like, "Yeah, dude, like I had the same with you growing up. Like I didn't want you out of my sight. Like I did because she had the same fears and same."
Yeah.
That was such a traumatic moment for her. Like her baby that she just gave birth to was ripped out of her arms.
Yeah.
And then like she's like has to be seen in the hospital for the first month. Like that's a traumatic moment. It's funny. It's like I never addressed it ever until like this past year, and I never even thought about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is
Yeah.
like it just lays, that kind of stuff lays in our subconscious. And then all of a sudden it's like, what? Wait,
Yeah.
oh, that's where it comes from?
Yeah.
Like that, because it does tie in it. Like your earliest moment, your first moment to the world, you're ripped away from the person that, A, that you've been inside of for 9 months. And then B, that is like, I guess they say that with like skin to skin contact, you're supposed to, you know, read it like just to feel that comfortability. And again, we don't even remember those things, but they live on in our brain, which is just mind blowing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so like, besides like that was my first moment coming in, but like my parents did a great job raising me like while they were together. And so like whatever, 1 to like 12 was, you know, great, beautiful family vacations, loving. My mom was super loving, like R&B music in the house, fireplace on, mom making great dinners, like great first memories. And like just a loving home and a loving thing. But then, you know, when you get to like age, I think it was like age 11, you start seeing your parents, you know, argue. Why is dad sleeping on the couch all the time? You know, like why are mom and dad talking that much? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get like sat down at 13. I remember in the family room, and my parents being like, "Yeah, we're getting a divorce," and it's just like, oh, and back to that, you know, that crossroad decision. Like my younger self went, all right, I got to be there for everybody. I got to be there for my, like, I can't let them know that I'm sad. They have enough going on. Like I can't affect, like I should be the least worry in the situation. So my instant, when I heard that, was just to shut off the emotions and just, I'm not going to address this. I'm not going to talk about my feelings. I'm just going to be like, everything's okay. I love you guys. I know this is going to be for the best. It's all good. Like, and yeah.
At 13 years old.
Yeah. And I remember like that was like throughout my like growing up, I didn't really show many emotions or anything like that. And that was like the moment. It's like, all right, yeah, this is why you don't do it. You don't show emotions at all. Don't do it. You're there for your mom. And then
funny you said you're there for your mom.
Yeah.
Again, that attachment.
Yeah, exactly.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but crazy. Like, at the same time, like that's your natural setting is that closeness. But yeah, I guess one of the things, like, what was that conversation like? Like, what was that? Like, how do you?
I just remember getting sat down in the living room and feeling very somber and feeling very weird. My sister getting emotional, rightfully so. And, you know, just feeling weird after that. But then me shutting off my emotions, being like, oh, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. And then wanting to leave the house. I think I went to like watch a football game at like high school football game or something like that night, and kind of just didn't address it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to address this or look at this. And that's when I first started pushing that shit down. Put on a happy face, say what people want you to say, what I thought people wanted me to say, and like just try to be there. And looking back on it sucks, like, because you like me deciding to do that, like I took away a chance for me and my sister to get closer through this. Like,
Explain that.
Like so I remember Maggie trying to talk to me about the divorce because she's obviously upset about it, crying like, it's all good, everything's fine, I'm fine. So like instead of like being like open to have that conversation, be like, yo, this is tough, like this is rough, but at least we have each other, and we'll get through this together, and I love you. Like if I wish I could say that, but I didn't, and that cycle continued for years. But yeah, and then like after that, just, you know, living with my mom, and, you know, her crying most nights because she's married 21 years, and
oh, it's so long.
It just broke her heart because she loved building a home, like loved that family sense, loved loved love, like wanted everyone happy, wanted to be there for everyone. That was like ripped away from her. And then it was just like me and her in like a small apartment in Malvern, and like her making $15 an hour supporting me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I commend her for it and like how strong she was and how she's in a great space now. But that was a rough period for the both of us. And just seeing my mom cry like that, seeing the pain she was going through, that was like, all right, this is like, I continue, push those emotions down, push those emotions down, be there for your mom, push those emotions down. Don't address that, put on a happy face. And then, that was like my cycle of everything in life. When anything bad happens, like, all right, push it down, say what you think people want to hear, and just put a smile on.
Mask.
And then you find, drugs, alcohol, start doing that, and like that makes it easier. You don't have to physically, you don't have to push it down anymore. That pushes those things down. And it was great. Like when I first did, I was like, oh, it's great. Like,
sick.
Sick. This can just do all the work for me. I don't need to push it down myself anymore. But yeah, and then like that leads, to not caring and drinking more and just smoking weed all the time. And numbing those emotions. And wasn't the right thing to do. But everything happens for a reason, and like I had to go through that to be who I am now. So I don't hate it or look at it in a bad light in any way. Like that was my life story.
So when did you start to acknowledge it? The divorce, at what point? Because I know you've mentioned to me that you have had this kind of this journey that you've been on. Now you're over a year sober. But you've tried a couple different times and you've gotten, again, like a couple steps forward, two steps forward, 3 steps back. Like you've acknowledged, at some point, like what age did you start to be like, all right, like, wait a second.
Well, probably like really like this past year. Cause so I got my DUI when I was 18, and like, that's when it's like, all right, maybe this drinking that's when the first time, like, it's like, all right, you kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And so I had to go through like, for the first 8 months of that, I'm like, all right, like I have to go to these classes. I'm not going to drink. I get into meditation, trying to be positive and stuff like that. But yet again, I'm not addressing the emotions or the feelings. I'm just stuffing positive stuff on top of it. It's like, and I told you before, like every time I would have a negative thought, I would switch it with a positive thought. And like that was my, like all day constantly being like, when I'm like, oh, fuck that guy, I want to fight him, I'd be like, no, let's switch it. Because that's all my thoughts were just negative, like 24/7. Like egotistical, I'm tougher than that guy, or that, like I want to fuck that girl should talk to me. It's like just ego, 24/7. And it's like getting the DUI was like a smack in the face, and it's like, all right, that like woke me up a little bit. That was my first wake up call. And it's like, all right. So I find meditation, find like that, and that was my solution. Just shove positivity on top of the negative, and hopefully that positivity will just delete all those negative things that happened in life and delete all the negative thoughts and delete all that shit. But it didn't. And I would have a cycle of like I'd be good for 8 months. Everyone around would be like, oh, like think I'm doing so great, And then I'd have a blow up. So I get my DUI, 18, start doing whatever, the ARD, the alcohol treatment.
What is that, ARD?
It's like if you get a first offense, you can get it like cleared off your record,
okay.
the DUI. But so on that, I have like a year probation, and then 8 months later, I'm like, all right, like you're good now. Like you're positive, you haven't drank in 8 months. You might as well, you can enjoy it. You go out with friends and have a drink, and drink for the first time in 8 months. Next thing you know, I wake up passed out next to some random person's pool, not my friend's house, with the ambulance taking me to a hospital and the cops like writing out a report. And then I'm walking from Brandywine Hospital in Coatesville back to my friends in Exton on the highway, just being like, because I don't want to call my mom. I don't want to call anybody.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking filled with shame and guilt. I remember crying in the hospital like, fuck, dude, like again? Like I'm in this situation fucking again? Are you fucking kidding me? And just like being like, fuck, like you did it again. Like you fucking did it again.
Yeah.
And so then get kicked out of ARD, then like hide all that from my family, buy a lawyer, with like the money I scrummed from like flooring and like whatever serving and stuff like that, hide that. And yeah, and then like the hiding things and hiding emotions continues, because after that happens, I come home, my mom's like, oh, how was last night? Oh, it was great. Oh, such a good night. It's good to see everybody.
I think I went swimming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but so then I mean, and it was a cycle of that continuously from 18 to 24. I'm 25 now, so I'm a year sober. And just of like being like, all right, everything's good. Everyone around me I perceive to be okay. Ego's getting built up. Everyone thinks I'm okay. Cool. I don't need to address anything. And then I have like girlfriends being like I barely like, we hang out every day. I don't really know you. Like, I remember one of my girlfriends saying that and being like, whoa. Like,
yeah, whoa is right.
That was like, I was like, whoa. Like, of course, you're like, oh, what do you mean? Like, because I'm hiding shit constantly. I'm cheating. I'm never my authentic self. I'm saying what they want to, I think they want to hear. And I'm continually pushing down emotions, never addressing anything, and never being the man I want to be. And never, like, I have this idea of the person I think I am, but I do completely everything the opposite of what I think that guy should do. And it was just like, it was just a mind fuck. And, it was just constantly drinking, getting in trouble, and then finding Xanax and being like, oh, well, this is better than drinking. This completely.
Yeah, so when did that happen?
I think I was, so it's funny, I feel like every time I would get like sober for like 8 months. It was during COVID. I was just working out all the time, got super skinny, like, and just constantly working out every day. That was like all that's on my mind. That's why like flipped alcohol for was working out for 8 months, basically.
Yeah.
Just jumped to one addiction to the other. And after 8 months, I'm like, I haven't drank or done drugs or anything like that. Like, I've been good. And, my cousin offers me Xanax, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take this. Cool. Like, take it, feel fucking amazing one night, and just like super chill, super calm, like happy, like feel light. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I'm off to the races, like, doing it every day, and then driving like 2 hours to go get 10 pills from some guy I don't even know, but some person I work with gave me his number. I don't even know if these pills are real, but I go home, I pop one, and then I go, well, I might as well take another. Next thing you know, I take 10 pills in a night.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then like that's not the first time I do that. And then like I remember having a bag of like 40 and taking like, I don't even know how I didn't die. Like, I remember taking like 20 in one night, and like hopefully they were just weak ones, but I'm sure if I took strong ones, I'd be dead. But like, I remember like my mom and my girlfriend at the time having to take me to the hospital because I couldn't stop shaking. I was like freezing and shaking. I was going through withdrawal, and who knows what I was going through, but I think I was on Xanax, so I wasn't going through withdrawal at that time. Like, I was currently high on it, and getting taken to the hospital and me be like, oh, I didn't take anything, and then telling that doctor I didn't take anything, who just took my blood, and he's like, dude, there's Xanax. Look at this chart. Yeah, you have like so much Xanax in you.
Look at this chart.
Yeah. And dude, like I don't remember like a good month of my life. It's just a blur. Like, I went to work, like my cousin at the time would have to like come bang on my door and wake me up and drag me out of bed to go to work. And it was just like, that's all I thought about was taking Xanax. And like, yeah, it was a dark place. It was not good. And it's just like, I wasn't happy with my life. I wasn't happy where I was headed. Like, all my friends are in college, kind of have a path. I'm not in college, going to community college, like still doing electrical at the time, like trying to figure out like while managing this and doing all this. And it was just a tough I never wanted to look at myself in the mirror. I never wanted to look at the man in the mirror because I fucking hated what I saw. And I hated where my life was going. I hated how I acted. I hated how I treated people. Like, I'd be good to your face and fine, but then like my thoughts and like my other actions would not be what I was saying. It was just like, I cheat on you, or I like lie to you, or like whatever it may be, or treat you like shit. Like, and I thought I was a good guy, but I fucking wasn't. Like, and like people were trying to help me, and I'd be running away from it, and I just wouldn't accept help. And then like, so that hospital incident kind of was like a big wake up because then like my whole family finds out that I'm fucking doing Xanax, including my mom, like dad, and everyone like that. So it's like, all right, that's like, all right, I got to stop.
Yeah.
And like they wanted me to go like treatment. I lied and said that I was going to treatment.
Really?
Yeah. And
How did you like finagle that?
it was like a Zoom thing because it was during COVID. So I would just be like, yeah, I did it. Yeah. Which is such a shitty thing to do. Like, so like lying to fucking my family's face that like, but I was a fucking addict, addicted to Xanax. And it's like, that was taken away from me and I couldn't do it. I was like, luckily, like I stopped. I don't know fucking how, but it was because of shame and guilt. I was like, I don't want people in my business, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And if I do this, I'm going to, and then, that's when like the drinking really started kicking on again because like, well, I won't do pills, but I'll drink. That's fine. It's completely different. And like you've seen me out before. I would get fucking like obliterated, and I'd be fine for like the first hour.
Yeah.
And then I'm stumbling home, getting arrested.
I always say about people. There's a lot of people that I know that either have like drinking problems or like the most fun people in the world to have 2 beers with. The worst people in the world to have 10 with.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just like, and that's honestly, now I can say it because we say everything, but like, that's how I felt. I was like, dude, like, and my friends, I mean, I've told you this, but my friends would be like, dude, your cousin Jack, he's like fucking all over the place. And like, I'm like, dude, but like, he's the man. And like, I love him so much. And I don't know why he's getting like that. And I don't know what he's, you know what I mean? Cause like, that's just not, you know what I mean? Like, I know you as the, you know, like, I feel like I saw what you were saying that you hated yourself, but I saw what was in there. And like, that's what I saw. Cause like, I always just like, I just look at the best or try to, because, you know, I know everybody's got their bag of shit and, you know, I'm just going to focus on that. And I always try to talk to my friends like, dude, like, I don't like, again, I didn't realize that it was a problem because again, we both have been in the culture of like, everyone's getting wasted. Yeah. Everyone's getting bombed. So like, you know, I just never realized that it was a problem. And I guess part of the interesting part about your alcoholic like story is that you weren't drinking every day. This wasn't like you said with the Xanax where it was like constantly, but it was, you know, if I, like you said, if I have one, I have 20, you know.
Yeah. Cause I knew like during the week, I knew it was never going to be one. And I knew I had to wake up for work. So like, at least I had that like, all right, I can't drink during the week because I'm going to be hungover as balls. And I don't want to feel shitty tomorrow. So I'll wait till Friday, think about it all week, and then let fucking loose on the weekend. Yeah. You know? But that like, and that's, you know, that's why like it's being alcoholic is like it's such a broad thing.
Yeah. There's like the 4 steps, and I'm forgetting like not the 4 steps, but the 4 kind of drinkers. It's like, do you remember what the 4 are? It's like there's like,
I'd be lying
like,
if I tried to tell you.
You like there's like heavy drinker, or like, you know, then the next one is like problem drinker, and then the last one is like, all right, like it's like ruining his life kind of drinker. And I forget, you know, if there's, I don't know, the first step or whatever it is, but it's interesting to think that you can identify, because you identify as an alcoholic, correct? Is that,
yeah, that'd be correct.
Yeah,
I know I can't drink.
Yeah.
If I do drink, bad things happen, and my ego runs rampant, and like I literally shut off. It's crazy. Like I'll have one and be like, all right, go time. Yeah. Like, and I would like literally I remember like before I would start drinking, I'd be like, all right, Jack, like just have a couple drinks, go to bed. That's it. Like just chill. And the next thing you know, I finish a bottle and then I'm driving to go get another bottle.
Jeez.
And I'm like waking up like, dude, what the fuck? I said not to fucking do this. And like I did it. And it's just I had no control. Yeah. And like that was the problem. I couldn't. My dad would always say to me, if you can't have one and walk away, like you shouldn't be drinking. Like he always planted that seed in my head, and like I couldn't have one and walk away. I remember lying to my dad on the phone, being like, I'll be like, oh, I just went to the bar. He's like, oh, how many did you drink? I was like, oh, just one. He's like, oh, good job. And I had like fucking 20, you know, and I was drinking while on the phone with him. Like it's just like,
Why did you want why? It seems to me. And I'm trying to figure it out of like, what is this thing that people like, to me, it feels like a need for control because again, and in my head, I tie it to like, your childhood being ripped away. Like you're like, your body is out of control because it's not, or like the whole situation is out of control. And it seems, and it feels like there's a need for control. Oh, I'm controlling the story of what everybody thinks about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I struggle with it all the time. I'm still struggling with it. Like this, like it's.
I think that, I mean, I think it all comes from a place of like fear and like wanting to be loved. you always want to be loved, and the fear of being alone. You don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
No one wants to be alone. And like, so you want to control this narrative and control what people think about you so you're not alone and that you're loved and you have people around you. I think for me, that's what I think at least most of my control issues come from, is like, I don't want to be alone, and I want people to like me, and I want to be loved, and I want everyone to like me. And if someone doesn't like me, it's like, oh God, what can I do to make them like, it just like, and luckily I'm getting better at it now, but that's what it was. I think it was just a constantly being fearful of like losing, whatever it may be. And it's like, it was all egotistical. It's like all just like, I need my ego filled up. I need to be loved. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. And that just, it's a shitty way to live. Yeah. Like living like with that being your narrative.
Yeah. And it's just, so it's interesting. So you work on it, you have like up and down brief sobriety periods, and then tell me about when everything cracked, because it,
Yeah, well, I like it. There's a good, I don't know if it's an AA saying or my cousin just told me it, who's also an AA, like pebbles, rocks, and cinder blocks. Like God throws pebble, rocks, and cinder blocks. Like I was getting a lot of pebbles thrown at me, being like, all right, dude, maybe you should stop fucking drinking. Like this isn't good. And then I got some rocks thrown at me. And then finally I had to have like a cinder block thrown at me. And it was one of those situations again where it's like I get a bottle on my way home, and it's like, all right, I'm just gonna drink this, chill, go to bed. I just moved up to Scranton. I'm there by myself, don't know anybody. I wasn't even enjoying drinking at that point, but I was like, I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I might as well just drink. I don't know anybody up here. I'm depressed. But I got I have an apartment up there. I got a job, so I'm gonna stay up here and just see what happens. And it was just one of those nights again where it's like, you have a bottle, and then I drink another bottle. I have a bottle, and then it's like I drink it, then decide, all right, I got to go drive and get another one, allegedly. Allegedly, I got in a car. Then I drive to the liquor store, and I roll my car. I kind of like mosey over to a median. Luckily didn't hit anybody, just it was like a one car accident in my car, and I completely flipped my car. And I remember coming to, like I was in a blackout. I remember coming to like in my car, and then just kind of blacking out again, and then getting out, and then running back to my apartment. And then like call the ambulance. Like, dude, I remember same thing, like waking up that morning being like, no way I did that. That had to be a dream. Like that had to be a fucking dream. Look outside the window, my car's not there. I'm like, it fucking happened. You fucking did it again. Like you just moved up to fucking Scranton, and you're starting something new, and you fucking do it again. Like and just being like, that was the first moment where I was like, if I had a gun right now, I think I'd kill myself. Like,
wow.
I was like, I am so tired of this cycle. Like I'm so fucking tired. Like again, like you did it fucking again, dude. Like, and so that was just like, I gotta do something different. And luckily my cousin Matt, he's fucking awesome, was I think maybe 3 months sober at the time, just started going to AA meetings. And he told me that like 2 weeks ago when I was bombed talking to him on the phone. And it's funny, he said like, I was obviously blacked out. At the end of the phone call, he was like talking about like, oh, like how's everything going? And then like I brought up AA to him, and then he was like talking about it. Then like at the end of the phone call, it's like, yeah, you'll probably be hearing from me soon.
Interesting.
Like I was alluding to about AA, which is like, I don't remember, it's funny. And then so then literally a week later, I'm calling him being like, dude, fucked up.
So you was that conversation was before the accident?
Yeah, like a week before.
A week before the accident.
Yeah.
You get in the accident. Yeah. That's definitely the cinder block.
That's
And then that's when, do you drink at all after that accident?
No. So that morning I wake up, call the ambulance, go to the hospital, get checked out, then deal with the cop things. And that's another story. But then, so then call my cousin, or call my mom, call my cousin, and then he's like, all right, dude, just get down here and I'll take you to a meeting. And I go to a meeting down there in Malvern, down here, and just met with so much warmth and people accepting, talking to me, putting their hand out. And then just like left there kind of feeling a little like, all right, a little lighter. And then I go,
can you expand on why? Because I again, after trying to study a little bit about AA, going to a meeting, I said in that email, I said everybody would benefit from just the experience of being in a meeting. And like, what did you feel like as a, again, first person in there? Because at the meeting that I went to, they said, when they were giving out the chips for, certain periods of time, they said, the most important person in the room, does anybody have 24 hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like that's really cool that the guy's name was Chris, and he said that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is the most important person in the room. Like now that I'm a little like over a year now, because we've all been there. We've all been like at our fucking end of the rope and walked into a meeting, and it's fucking terrifying because you have no idea. You're terrified. You have no idea where your life's going. You have no idea what's going to happen next, what legal trouble you're in, or what your parents just kicked you out, or your wife just kicked you out. You're losing your kids. You don't know what's going on with this guy. You don't know where he's at. And I feel like when I first walked in, it was just you got a sense of hope because it's just guys telling their story, telling their truth. And like, there's that energy in there of just like people laughing about stuff, people just being welcoming, just like, hey, like, yeah, here's my number. Call me anytime.
Yeah.
Like whatever, if you need someone, I'm there for you. And that was just like a room of people like that. And it's amazing. And then, I experienced that in Malvern, get a taste of it, then go back up to Scranton and go to a meeting up there. And I just, I go up there and I share just to be like my truth, being like, I fucking hate myself right now. I discussed it. I thought about killing myself. I explained what happened, like all this stuff. And then people just being like, accepting, being like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. We're here for each other. And it's so funny. I get into my car after that meeting and I turn on like my car and the radio comes on. It's like this song. It's like, we're all in the same boat. Like, you know that song?
I don't, but
it was just funny. It was just like, and like, I just like hit me with like hope and like, all right, there's other people out there that are struggling or that struggled and got through it. And I can get through this too. Like, and it's going to be okay. And like, that was it literally just, the only thing I can say is it just gave me hope. And it just got filled with hope. And then just hit the ground running after that. Yeah. Just constantly going to meetings.
I was going to say, what was the process like either the next week, month? And again, I mean, now you're just past a year.
Yeah. So it's crazy because then like, so they do say you do like 90 and 90, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. So that's what I started doing, just going to a meeting every day.
It's funny to bring in, that's, Tommy said you have to do that.
Yeah.
He said it's the only way.
Yeah. And you just got to like go in there and like share sometimes, but really just like shut up and listen. And like stop being like it made me be open to whatever happens next and like listening to people and like not being judgmental and being like with this court situation that I was about to face. It was like, you know what? It made me be like, whatever happens next is supposed to happen. I'm on the right path now. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do now. If I'm supposed to come back to Philly and lose my job up in Scranton because I'm going to lose my license or whatever it may be, like that's okay. And I'm open to whatever comes next because I'm no longer going to be that guy anymore. I'm changing and I have help and there's people here. And it's funny, like it's crazy, like things just start falling into place. Like my dad knows a lawyer up there and like happens to know one and like he helps me out and like I somehow get out of the situation, like scathe free. Mm-hmm. And it was just a blessing, like such a blessing. But it was cool to just like, and I think that it had to deal with me just being like open to whatever happens next, being like honest, open, and just being like, the cops luckily gave me a break and they knew what happened that night. They luckily just gave me a break and I got really lucky. But and then after that, it's just like that weight's off your back and it's just like, all right, you just gotta stay sober now. Yeah. And you gotta be honest. You gotta be honest about your emotions, be honest about your feeling. Like some days I'd want to be like, I want to go fucking home and drink, or I want to go to a rooftop bar and have a fucking cocktail. And like I would tell people that at the meeting, be like, that's what I'm feeling today. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, yeah, keep sharing it. Keep coming back. Keep talking about it. And after, it just, the patience and being like non-judgmental and just hearing people's story and knowing that like, no matter what someone's story is or what they're going through at that meeting, like you can get something from it. You can identify something and where you guys can connect on. Like everybody can do that. You can find one grain of salt that you guys can connect on and then run with that and then like grow. And that's what it just taught me, you know, just to be open, not judgmental, like be open to whatever may happen next, be open about your emotions, be open to whoever comes into your life, just be open and be non-judgmental. And it's the craziest thing. Cause like, you know, the drinking, you stop the drinking and it's like, all right, now the real work starts where you gotta start dealing with yourself. You know, like as Tommy said, like it's a Tommy problem, it's a Jack problem. It's not drinking. Yeah. It's me. And, you know, once those drinking thoughts will go away and you're really able to just like dive into yourself and like be like, all right, what do I really like? Like I was going to the bars every weekend. Like, what do I want to do on the weekend? Now
that's what I thought when you said, oh, well, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have hung out and we have not drank and we've done so much.
Oh, there's had like the best time.
There's so many things to do. But when you're in that cycle, it's like, well, nothing else.
Yeah, I didn't think there's any way. Like, this is just what we do. This is societally okay. Yeah. This is what you do. Accepted. Yeah. Encouraged. Yeah. And it's in your face all day long. I always make the joke, wings, beer, sports. It's like, that's what guys do. And again, looking at watch any commercials, it's all about drinking, good time, you know, and they make it look so fun and it's fun. But when it gets to a certain point, not that fun. You feel way better when you're not doing it.
Yeah. That's, I've been oversharing about the whoop band being like every time I've drank, like the 1 or 2 times I've drank, it's been like, oh, your body feels like trash. Yeah. Here's the number to back it up. Yeah. But tell me about you've had a funny AA story to me because you're like, you first said you're like, let me get all the steps done.
Yeah. Oh,
like the first like month or week or whatever it was.
Well, like that was the biggest thing that I learned this year about I was never, my whole life, and I think it has to deal with me getting ripped, you know, from my mom. I think that's where it all comes from. But it's like, I was never patient. I was always just like trying to get somewhere, trying to be somewhere, trying to get to the finish line, like my mind was just constantly
this internal clock you said.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, exactly. Like if this weekend was about to start, I'd be like, all right, how am I gonna? All right, we're gonna be here. I'm gonna be here this many hours. We're gonna do this, and then it's like, all right, then I'll leave on Sunday, go back, do this, and it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Just like be in the moment, like be present, and just like. Yeah. What was the question again? Sorry.
Just the forced or not the forced steps. You want to do all the steps.
Okay. Yeah. So it's funny, you know. And then I have to face that patience problem, and I find a sponsor, all that stuff. He's great. This Irish guy is from Ireland. He came over here and he's like 29. He's like I think he's like 45. Great guy, Tim. And like he's slowly taking me through steps, like his process is that he reads it to me and then we talk about like a page or a chapter. And like, that's one meeting, that's one session we have. And that's how he was taught. So that's how he's passing it down to me.
Did you do them in order?
Yeah, in order.
Okay.
And we go like read the book. He reads the book to me.
Page by page.
Like it's like a couple pages by couple pages.
Yeah.
Say we'll read 5 pages each time we meet. It's 164 pages. Yeah. And we're meeting like every 2 weeks or every week. And you know, in my head, it's like, all right, I gotta get these steps done because I want to be sober. Once I get these steps done, everything's gonna be good. Everything. I'm gonna be king AA once I get these steps done.
I'm gonna be the best.
Yeah, everyone's gonna come to me. How'd you do it, Jack? Oh, I'll tell you how I did it. Take a seat. No. So then, like, I get crazy for a week, and I'm like, these it's going too slow. I need to get these steps done. And I go to one meeting. This guy talks about how he did the steps by himself, and say, oh, I can do that too. And then like I just call my sponsor. I'm like, yeah, I started the 4th step already. I'm on the 4th step. He's like, well, you have to get through 1, 2, and 3 before you get to the 4th. And I was just like, I'm just doing it. I love you still, but I'm doing this.
I think I'm gonna rewrite the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I got it. They got it wrong. Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Sorry, Bill W.
Yeah, my ego's so huge. Yeah, I'm gonna rewrite the AA book. Yeah. So then like a week, I'm crazy, and I feel terrible that I did it. It doesn't feel right. But I'm just going off like my old actions and just being like, all right, I got this. I don't need help. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be sober. And then like a week later, I'm like crawling back to my sponsor being like, my bad. Can we restart? Like I made a bad decision. And like now I'm a year in and I'm only on step 4. I just started step 4. Yeah. And it's like that was a lesson for me to be like, this is a lifelong thing. Like it's not like a get this done in a month and then you're a good thing. It's like, yeah, you're going to be doing, like, you're going to try to have to be sober your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what I said when I called you after your year.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, dude, congrats. That's fucking huge. Like, that's it. Cause it is.
Yeah.
And it's an impossibly hard thing to do. Like anything, dealing with it, not only demons in your head, but the alcohol problem and the, you know, the reasons that you drink, everything. It's so impossible. And I called you. I was like, dude, congrats. It's huge. How do you feel? And you were like, it's just another day.
Yeah. Well, that's how I have to look at it. Mm-hmm. If I don't, my ego will get too big and be like, oh, you fucking did it. Look at you.
Yeah.
Everyone should be cheering your name. I don't know why more people aren't calling me, congratulating me. Like that's where my head goes. Like I want to, like, and so I have to be patient, be like, all right, just another day. You're going to be, guess what? You're going to be a year and 1 day tomorrow. You're going to be a year and 2 days. It doesn't matter. Like, this is just your life. This is what you're doing. And like, just letting go of that control and just being like, all right, take a step back. Like there's no finish line. Like, this is your life.
Have you taken any moments, and I was thinking about this, a couple of weeks ago, randomly. I was like, I wonder if Jack took any moments to be like, hey, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So my sponsor is really good at, like, that's his kind of message, to be like, all right, like I know we got a lot going on, we're doing this, but we do take a pause and you do pat yourself on the back. You are doing the work. You're doing a good job. You're showing up every day. You're doing the steps. Like, you're trying to be sober. You're trying to live by spiritual means. You're talking to God. Like, don't forget, like, you are doing this, and don't get caught up in everything. Like, take the second to pat yourself on the back, and don't, like, obviously don't be like, like, build yourself up so greatly, but do recognize that you are doing the work and you're doing a good job, and be nice to yourself. And
It's funny because it's like a balance. And that's the whole thing with the drinking that you're talking about. It was out of balance. So you kind of have to have a level of, like, it's like, I always say, like, it's walking on a tightrope. Like, you can't get too high, but you can't get too low. And I think for people with addictions, and myself having addictions and all this, chaotic thoughts in my head, it's just like, and we talked about this last night about, like, oh, it's like a blessing and a curse to think like this, because, like, I don't want to overanalyze every single thought I have, but if I don't, then I'll let it get too big, and then it blows up, and then it's certainly just confusing.
Yeah, it is. The whole life is confusing.
Yeah. But so step 4.
Yeah.
Can you refresh my memory?
So step 4 is, like, writing down, like, all your resentments, like, all, like, the people you resent, all the, like, institutions, quotes, birds, like anything that you're resentful towards. Like, write it down, write why, and write, like, your part in it.
Are you resentful towards birds?
No, I got no dig against birds.
I hate birds.
I fucking hate them. No, but, like, just anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're resentful towards red cars. Like, why are you resentful towards? Yeah. Like, but, like, it's more really like, I'm resentful towards Christopher because he got more girls than I did, or I'm resentful towards Eric because he makes more money than I did. You know, like, it's just like, and you get all that shit out that you fucking held on to, and, like, you festered. And it's just all your ego, and, like, it's based out of fear, some type of fear. Like, I'm jealous that you get more girls than me because I'm afraid I'm going to be alone, and seeing you, like, get girls, I think that no one's ever going to love me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like dissecting
the mental loop.
And, like, getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, that's bullshit.
Acknowledging it first, and then being so it, like, makes me laugh, but, like, it is sad and crazy, like, that's the way that the brain works.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, again, we look at other people and it's like, oh, they got this, that, the other thing. Why don't I have it? It's like, well, wait, but you have all this.
Yeah. And just be grateful that you have all this, and be happy that they have all that and they're happy.
Yeah.
The comparing is where that's where it fucks you up.
What's saying, is it comparison is the thief of joy or something like
Sounds
that?
Good.
Yeah. But would you mind sharing any of those resentments, or maybe a core one, or
like, I mean, like,
or even a small one that's like,
well, like, my, like, core resentments, like, one of my big ones is, like, my parents' divorce, and then, like, little resentment towards my dad, and then because I held on to thinking that he, ruined our family and, like, broke us apart.
Yeah.
Well, it was not all his fault. Like,
yeah.
he's just, he's got
divorces happen.
Yeah, it happens. Like, people fall out of love, or people, like, and like, I'm so happy where he at in his life, the person he's with. I'm so happy where my mom's at. I'm so happy where my sister's at. Like everyone's in a really good space, and like that had to have happened.
Yeah.
So it's like accepting that and like moving on from that, and not holding on that resentment towards my dad or like because like I said, like I was team mom. Like I'm there for my mom. Like this, none of this is her fault. You know what I mean? Like so. So yeah, that was like my big. And that I never really addressed. And like I love my dad. And I like love talking to him. We have great conversations. He's insightful and like doesn't judge me in any type of way. And it's been helpful. And
I love your dad so much.
Yeah.
And I probably haven't had the chance enough to tell him.
Yeah.
But with our dads owning a company together and working together for 21 years. 21 years. Yeah. I remember going down to the Phillies games with my dad, and I would run into the office and I'd run into your dad's office because my dad would be there doing whatever. And I'd be so excited to see him. I'd jump up in his arms. He gave me so much attention and love. And he was just so, I don't know, just a level of, for whatever reason, these are my thoughts as like a child, like strength, comfort, all these different things. And again, just to think that at that time he had these things going on in his head. He's a man. He's an adult. And he had all these thoughts that we're having right now. He had all these things. And again, at times, like this is my whole thing that I'm excited about. Is like now we can talk about these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just didn't have the exact opportunity to either get therapy, have an open conversation like this, and now obviously the tides are turning with men's mental health, and just be able to like address these things, work on these things. But have you had any conversations with your dad about that as like a direct man-to-man kind of thing?
Not yet, not direct man-to-man about that. And about it will happen when it feels right.
Yeah.
And
because even I'm just saying about your like resentments.
Like so there's. So I mean, I think I'll. Like I have that battle with myself because it's like, do I bring that up and make him feel bad for the situation when I'm getting over it, or do I need to do it to get over it? Do I need to bring it up, or do I just need to talk about it with you or somebody else and move on by myself? Do I need to entangle my feelings and thoughts with him and make him feel that I may not be happy with him for some reason? And do I need to bring his day down with my shit? So that's like my kind of battle with it. And I'm sure like I'll find the correct answer for it, but like I don't does my mom need to know like how shitty I felt like holding her crying every night? Like does she like do I need to bring that up to her? Like that was clearly she knows that wasn't a good time. Do I need to readdress it? Like I don't know.
And that's the funny thing, and that's what the exciting part about like these conversations is like I think that the way that you talk about it and display it, like, obviously it sucked for sure, but like the strength and the perspective that it gave you and the impact that it had on you to be the man that you are today is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I'm so proud of you as a person, friend, cousin. It's funny to say family because I feel more friends. But that all that stuff had an impact on the way that you've thought about it. Because again, you talked about like for years you pushed it down. And the thing that makes my heart hurt is that there's men all over the place now, today, in the past, that never acknowledged it and that never had the perspective or wrote it down or thought about it or anything like that. And because when you don't, then you internalize it forever. You numb it. You do the whole cycle continues.
Yeah, you just you just fucking cringe. Like it's not good.
And the trauma. What was that book called? The book that we were reading.
Oh,
It didn't start with you.
Yeah, it didn't start with you.
It didn't start with you. And they talk about how, when you internalize things and you never bring them to your conscious awareness or talk about them, write about them, get them out, they seep down into your body and then pass on. So even things like divorce could be like generational. So it's not only nature versus nurture, whatever, because like the nature of you is your genes, and that's literally in you. Is that like, internal, not talking about things and then that cycle continue, or the fact that nurture, you saw it, so like that same thing. And I have a couple good friends that have shared with me their stories about their parents being divorced and what it means for them and their fears of doing the same thing. Is that just going to happen? You know what I mean? And like living with that, and it just makes me so happy that they could talk about it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And like since I I crave now, like I want a family, I want to marry a girl, and like that's it. Like that's what I want, and I'm gonna try my hardest to do it. And like, that's why I want to do this work now. Like, I don't want to pass on anything or bring any shit into a new relationship that doesn't need to be brought in. Like, we obviously talk, like my girlfriend now, we talk about everything and I'm honest with her, but I tell her how I used to be. And like, she just knows me as who I am now. And she's never seen me drink. And I knock on wood, you know, I hope she never sees me drink.
Yeah.
And that's a possibility, like that my kids could never see me drink. And like, I'll always be there, present, always available, like always willing to talk. And I got to get through my shit so I can be there for other people. Like, I want to be there for you. I want to be there for my mom. I want to be there for my sister, my dad, my girlfriend. And I can't be there and be present if I don't deal with my own shit first.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I've learned in this path here. It's like so simple, but it's so profound to me. It's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. I got to clean up my side of the street. I got to keep my side of the street clean, keep doing what I'm supposed to do, be there for people, and everything will fall into place how it's supposed to be. But more importantly, I'm going to feel okay with myself, and I'm going to I'm going to love myself.
Yeah.
Because you should love yourself.
And because you've done that, you've been able, and because you have, and you know, I mean, what you did for me yesterday, by getting me out of the mental loop when I was like, you know, I talked about like, oh, I have a fear of success more than I have a fear of failure. And you were like, why? I was like, well, I don't feel like I deserve it. And what'd you say?
I said, what about the people out there that need your help that do deserve it?
Yeah. And I like fucking just instantly teared up. I was like, you're right. And again, that's so me-centric to be thinking like that. It's me-centric in the same that I have these thoughts as we're literally sitting down and having this conversation. I've had thoughts, oh, is the camera running? Is this, is that? And I'm like, oh, well, like, why am I concerned about that? Because I'm concerned about how I'm going to look, how people are going to think about me and what I'm doing and the production and this and that. And I want to kill it. And I want people to like me. But the truth is, the reason we're here is to help other people and
help ourselves.
And help ourselves. Yeah, and you can do both.
You can do both.
And that's
because when you're that's like the big thing in like AA too, is like when like you're supposed to help other people because it helps you.
Yes.
Like that's why.
12 step.
Yeah. When you stop and help somebody, like that makes you feel good and that makes you happy and like that helps that person. It's like there's no negative to being there for someone or like talking and with an open heart. Obviously being there for someone negatively is not good, but you know what I mean? Like it just creates more positivity. And
I immediately couldn't get out of the thought that I just jumped in and said 12 step for my ego to pat myself on the back and show everybody that I know what I studied. And
you read the book.
Yeah, like come on.
Well, everyone should know that Christopher read the book.
But it's like, how many times can I say? But it's funny. That's the again the power of the work that you've done has rubbed off on me in a way that has made me identify those things, work on those things, get out of those thought loops, and just be like, because like next time I think about something like that I can flex my knowledge. Yeah, I was like, oh. You want to flex that knowledge because of this, and like you don't need to do that.
You don't need to share that.
You don't need to do that right now.
Dude, like that, like I remember when you came and visited me like a month ago and came up for the weekend, it's like in my head I was like, all right, before you came, I was like, all right, I'm gonna tell Christopher this, show him this, see how far along I am, and like tell him this knowledge, tell him this knowledge. And I was like, dude, he may have way more to tell you and help you get through your shit. You know what I mean? So like shut up and listen to him and then flow with it. Like I had to like stop myself because my ego wanted to show you how good I'm doing and like show you all this knowledge I have. And it's like, no, shut the fuck up and listen and like hear his perspective and then ping pong with each other. Like, don't fucking just try to bulldoze your methods or what works for you and all this stuff. And like just because your ego, because I want you to think, oh, I'm great, and then go back and tell everybody that you talk to, oh, my cousin's great, and then it's like, yes. And it's just like, no. And like, if you came up and we just sat there and didn't talk all weekend, like that would have been fine too. Like I don't need to interject my thought, like, I don't know.
And you did exactly that. Cause like, I feel like that whole weekend, I mean, it was, we were sober the entire time. And I felt like it was trippy because of like you, and again, I told you, I get high off of these conversations. I legitimately get into a zone of like, whoa, it's just such a crazy, and that whole weekend we talked, I mean, for hours and hours and hours and hours. And you did exactly that. You sat there and you let me like brain dump everything that was going on in my head, everything that I was thinking, fearful, like we did, meditated, hiking, like all these different things. And you just let me throw it all out there. And boy, like.
Yeah, and it helped me tremendously when I just shut up and let you talk and like let you think things through and get to your ending point. Like I can help and give my experience on certain things and maybe that'll help you get to a different thought. But it's like really just letting you run out the the script in your head and letting you finish it. It's like, I got so much out of that weekend just by your vulnerability, your spirituality, and like kind of rejuvenated my meditation and spirituality. Cause I was like like floating with it, and it's crazy. And it helps me remember like the law of attraction. And like when I'm putting out energy like that, like I'm trying to work on myself, and then, you know, God, the universe presents you coming up and we having a beautiful weekend, just talking about life and being open. Like if that's a year ago, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But since we're both open to having that conversation and being real and talking about our emotions, then like that we get kind of connected somehow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how we we had an amazing walk at our cousin Casey's wedding.
Yeah.
And like that kind of,
And I was in a really bad place at that moment. And my ex-girlfriend could back it up.
Yeah.
Like I was in a really, really bad, scary place in that moment. Like it was one of the darkest, you know, I've had I would say 5 years of a kind of a recovery journey myself, and really blew up 3 years ago. And the past 3 years have been really, really awesome. But man, that was one of the darkest moments. And those are the kinds of things that I just like wish, and like I honestly do. I do like directly tell people like how much they've helped me, because it's like that walk, you know, you might not have even known how dark and scary and stormy things were in my head. And, you know, you got me to like, at the very least, be able to like get through the weekend and enjoy the time with our cousins. And, you know, and again, I was slamming beers and it was so cool to see you just crushing virgin daiquiris or whatever by the pool. And, you know, obviously
pina coladas.
The drinking definitely runs in the blood. So there was a lot of that around, but I don't know, I guess just to see you be you and be so strong. Cause like that, and I remember asking you, or just maybe I didn't say it, but I was thinking like, how is Jack doing this? He's dancing just like the rest of us. He's having a good time just like the rest of us, and he's not drinking. And like I felt like we all need it. And like again, like I've cut back on my drinking heavily, and I'm trying to, you know, figure, or just kind of realizing like it's just not the most helpful thing for me. It's not that it's, I mean, it's fun, but it's not like the after effects aren't fun at all. And just remember looking at you and be like, dude, how's he doing it?
It was easy like during it, but then the hangover, the non-alcoholic hangover I had like the week after that was rough.
Tell me about, what is that? Is that a thing?
So just like being around all that drinking and seeing it all. And in the moment I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'm doing like around my family. I like being sober. Someone needs a ride. Me and you went to like go get food at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, cool, I'm sober. I can do it.
Oh my God, I barely remember that.
Yeah,
So,
But
thanks for the ride.
Yeah, you're welcome. The hangover after that was rough. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like after that, like being around that and seeing how loose everyone is, how much fun everyone's having together, the bonding people are having after drinking, like that was playing in my head all week, like the following week.
Yeah.
And I had to talk about it, and like I had to. You know, it was a test, and like I had to tell my sponsor about it, tell him what I'm thinking, talk about it in meetings, and being like, this is what's going on, and like other people experience it too, and it's not like crazy. But yeah, it was definitely a growing. That was like a growing experience for me, because that was rough.
Because you were probably 6 months in.
I think so. Yeah, 6 months in.
And dude, I just remember I was like, dude, you looked so good and like healthy and happy and. Like we joked about like that, your hair grows back.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts.
You could see like your face. Like to me, it's just like it looks like a different person. And yeah, what an interesting like. It's funny because again, I'm thinking in that time zone. Oh my God, Jack, how cool that he could do that without drinking. And afterwards, you're thinking, oh my God, everyone
had so much more fun than me.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's too funny.
I think it's like that wanting to be a part of, like, in the fear of, that goes back to fears. I want to be included with everything. I want to be there with everybody. I don't want to miss out on anything. And I felt like I was missing out by not drinking and not having that life experience where it's like, oh, we all drank together and had a great time. It's like, I was still there.
Yeah.
Like, and like, that's why I remind, like, I still had a good time.
And you remembered more than anybody else did.
Yeah, exactly. And it was still fun. Like, I still had a good time. Like, I didn't need drinking.
Yeah.
But like that was a moment for me to kind of solidify, like, all right, you don't drink. This is okay. You don't need to, you can still be a part of, you're going to miss out on some things, but that's okay. You're not meant to be there. You have a different life purpose now, and it's not involving going out drinking every weekend, and that's okay. And you're not going to hang out with the same friends. You're not going to be around the same people. You have to be open to new people in your life, new experiences, new sober things. And that was like after that wedding, that was like kind of.
It was bouncing around in there. Yeah. I feel like that's going to be the thing that I got to figure out is like, or not figure out because like who cares? But I feel like with the amount of water I drink, and then like I always wonder on those long ass podcasts how they do it.
I have no idea. Oh, maybe they
because Rogan takes some break. Like he'll be like, "All right, you want to take a break?"
Yeah, you see that sometimes.
Yeah, but when they do it for like 4 hours straight,
it's nuts.
It's like, it's like a huge. I mean, I just am chugging waters. So my nervous tick. I don't know if you can notice it, but like is drinking water. So like that's why I walk around with that. Like I usually
I noticed that you walk around with your cup.
Yeah, that and yellow. I usually have this big ass yellow Yeti, and I left it in Eric's truck, and I'm like, I literally feel like it's because like it's my. I don't know, like what I do, like. I don't even know how to say it, but I'm like drinking water all day long. But I stopped because I was chugging at the beginning because I was nervous, and then I literally only drank 1 cup of coffee because I was settled in.
Yeah, slow down.
But speaking of drinking, eating, can't tie that in very effectively. But I mean, one of the things that, as I said right before we started talking, was like, dude, your willingness to open up and share about being a guy and dealing with bulimia, is that the right way to say it? Bulimic?
Yeah, I mean, eating stuff and throwing it up.
My God, dude. So like first, before we get to that, like the core of it, I mean, you're a good looking guy, in shape, played football, you were sick. Like I remember reading in high school, just being like, wait, Jack Kincaid, running back, touchdowns? Like what? Like, like what a beast. So you're, got friends, like from the outside world, it would look like everything's good. Obviously, we just went into why, things were a little bit rocky, but like, tell me about having those self-esteem issues, especially with girls in high school and different things.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I definitely going to like the, like moving schools. I think like 4th grade, our dad's business, like they fell apart. They had
is what it is.
They had a falling out. But so then I was going to Catholic school, then got transferred, all guy Catholic school, then transferred or whatever, put in a public school. And I just not knowing how to talk to girls at all and just being so nervous, like from a young age. I just remember always being very nervous and like that just carrying over kind of in high school and stuff like that. And then like drugs and drinking helped lubricate that. And like, not having really thinking of yourself too highly. So it's like hard to, I don't know. I always had a difficult time, like talking to girls, and luckily, like, as I got older, it became easier. But, in high school was definitely not that.
So did you have girlfriends in high school?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I talked to girls and stuff like that. Like I had sex and whatever when I was like 15, but it was always like, it was never like felt, I don't know. It always felt like, I just fully wasn't comfortable, like, I didn't know how to talk. Like, I was fine, like, when it was, like, after a while of talking, but the initial, like, making a move on somebody or something like that was very difficult for me. And I fucking thought some girls were gorgeous and stuff like that and, like, wanted to, but just didn't have that self-confidence. I didn't think too highly of myself.
And just being in touch with your emotions, like just not having, numbing everything, not having, or like doing emotions.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned about your, an ex-girlfriend that said like, I feel like I don't even know you.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you going to like talk to girls when you don't open up or
say anything, emote anything?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like as I've gotten older, I feel like understanding, I'm like, wait, whoa, this would have been so much easier if I was just like again, I told you, Aiden says people crave authenticity. If I just was myself.
Yeah, I would have attracted exactly who I was supposed to.
Yeah, and just tell people, like, again, like, I mean, I told you about the other day, like, I was hit on. It wasn't a girl, but the guy was like, the guy was just straight the fuck up. Yeah. And although that was like, it is, it's an interesting thought loop for me to go through. But the one thing I thought about it was like, yo, he like literally just told me how he felt. And I was like, whoa. And, you know, I literally thought, I was like, damn, if I would have been able to do that, you know, high school with girls and just be like, oh, this is how I feel about you. In a respectful, like, like I really like you. And I would love to, you know, take you out to dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, just,
I'm sure that would have went a lot smoother.
yeah, instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to be, you know, like, let's be friends. And then like, you know, just be a manipulative fuck and just like shit like that. But I don't know, I guess the reason that I like want to get that background from you is because of the bulimia, you know, that you dealt with. Like, how the fuck does that start? Where does it start? When was the first time you did it?
So it started, it wasn't like years straight, but when I got done, when I went to Moravian, decided to quit football, and then getting back, like I quit football and then like obviously just ate and smoked weed like how I was when I was playing, and I wasn't working out, so I just got up to like 210 pounds. I'm like 175 now. So I was just fat and big and did not look like how I looked at all. Wasn't happy, was depressed, you know, and like DUI, everything. Shit's not going good. And then like I just was like, all right, I gotta lose all this weight. So I just like I lost 30 pounds in a month. I just stopped eating, and if I did eat, I would just throw it up. And like that was my cycle. And then
when did you like the throwing up part though is like so like, because like it's funny, I literally did the same thing. One like I've gotten up to 220 and cut like a similar amount of weight in a similar amount of time, but like I still ate. I never had thought to throw it up. I never like, how did like,
I think it was just like, I thought it was like a cheat. Like I could be like, oh, I could just still eat it. To get the satisfaction, but then just throw it up.
Just like, I'm gonna do this real fast.
I'll lose the 30 pounds and I won't need to eat, and like, but then like, so then like I like lose all the weight and stuff like that. So like I kind of keep like go back to like eating, not a lot, but like I was like eating like 1,000 calories a day, just like not a lot, like, and just like watching everything I ate, like eating tuna packets, like that's like it, and it was just a bad cycle, and then like just like on and off like caring about my weight and stuff like that, like feeling good, then getting depressed again, gaining a little weight, then, you know, doing the thing of just eating and throwing up again, just like kind of like not like constantly doing it, but like using it as a tool, like always. And I didn't like how my face looked when I was fat, and I thought if I was just like super skinny and like could see my like jaw and stuff like that, then like that's the best I'm gonna look, and like that's what like my I guess idea was, and I thought girls would like that. So it was a weird, and like it's funny, like I never thought anything of it while I was doing it, and then I got sober and I was like, oh dude, you were fucking, the fuck were you doing? Like that, why was that your move? Like I'd be like go to Ben Jerry's, like, or go to Wegmans to get Ben and Jerry's, and with knowing that I'm gonna eat it and then immediately I'll just throw it up. Like I was just basically just throwing money up. Like it was just like stupid. I don't, and like I was just such in a bad space with like, you know, doing whatever, all drugs, smoking, Adderall, Xanax, like whatever I get my hands on. And that was just my that was my way I coped it, and the way wasn't a good move.
I can't imagine what your body was feeling like at that moment.
Oh, dude, I was just tearing it up, and then then I'd be doing that, and then popping like Adderall on an empty stomach, so then that would curb my appetite. So then I'm like, all right, I'm good for like 8 hours, won't need to eat, and then like eat something and throw it up. So like, I never had like anything really, like whatever, like I didn't get up.
Were you prescribed Adderall?
Yeah, for like a month.
Okay, so you're not now.
No, I did not need it. I lied and got it prescribed, obviously. But then I'd like get it from like different people and stuff like that.
It's fascinating, the whole Adderall thing. I mean, I know, you know, my sister Jillian took it for her, you know, I mean, disability really is the best word to say it, epilepsy, to be able to help her, you know, focus and everything like that. So always like growing up around Adderall in the sense that like, oh, didn't Jillian take her Adderall today? It's like a, you know, family kind of thing, like, or, you know, something like that. Or if she, you know, maybe had a, you know, either like a small, you know, I can say like meltdown, or like, you know, something like, oh, maybe she didn't take her Adderall because like then the emotions are out of control. Like she didn't have that. And then getting into high school, people selling Adderall and like doing, you know, like just like taking Adderalls to, and I always joke about, I remember it's like finals week or some big test, like just popped an Adderall, studied all night, and then crushed it. And then you go through college and you're like kind of doing the same thing to like, you know, and then the fact that people take it every single day now is like, I get it. It helps people, but I mean, it's a powerful ass drug. The same thing with Xanax. You know what I mean? Like people prescribe that, like it is intense. So I don't know. I hope, I don't even know what to say about it. It just makes me uncomfortable. It makes me sad. It makes me like, I guess what it makes me feel like is it takes you a little bit away from reality. Cause it's intense.
Yeah.
And just,
I mean, I felt like a crackhead on it.
yeah.
Sure. Like doing it like a month straight, like whatever, and pop. Like not even, because I got like prescribed like 30 pills, and I finished it like 10 days. You know what I mean? Like so, like after that, that's why I took like a little break after that. I was like, all right, Jesus Christ. Yeah. But 2 weeks later, back on it. But there's I don't like that drug at all. I liked it during, obviously, I did all the time, got a lot done, and felt like I was productive. But my thoughts would be crazy on it, and yeah, definitely not good for my body.
One thing I did, and I don't know if we, wanted to include this, but as we just mentioned about the, me being hit on by a guy and having confusing gay thoughts as a child, now as a very, not, I wanted to say very straight guy.
Oh, so straight.
So the straightest.
But
just literally, again, ego, because I don't want anybody to, but no, like it is, I'm confused in certain ways. Because of honestly watching porn as a way too young kid and watching gay porn. When I comfortably told you about that, and you were one of the first people outside of my therapist that I was comfortable like bringing up that conversation with, you're like, oh yeah, like we were able to like relate and resonate. And can you walk me through? Because I think that these are some things that many men, straight men especially, deal with. And it's something that we all, as I just did, try to like hide it.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing is like the fear around it being gay is so like, and it goes back to like not being a part of, being excluded, and like fear of that and fear of being left out, and like that, I feel like that's the stigma around it. So I think that's like kind of put in our brains at a young age, like, oh, I don't want to be, I hope I'm not gay. Like, like, and like we like girls and we're like worried about it. It's like you're like looking at girls or whatever you want to say, jerking off to girls. You're like, oh Jesus, really hope I'm not gay. But I don't know. Yeah, for me, like I had a weird it goes back to like not being comfortable like talking to girls at first. I'm like, geez, am I gay? Like, is that why I can't talk to girls, or like why I feel so weird? Like, you know what I mean? Is like that it? Is that like, am I gay? Is that what? And I remember I remember laying in bed with one girl like for like one night, and her clearly like wanting to get with me, but me not knowing how to make, just so afraid to make a move that we just laid there in bed all night. Like, you know what I mean? Like I did not make a move at all. And this is what I was like,
what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, exactly. I was like a sophomore in high school. I was like, I'm out of my element, guys. Like I had no idea what's going on. And I remember like a slight rumor starting, like, oh, maybe Jack's gay, or like something like that, and me being like, oh shit, like maybe I am gay. I don't know. Like,
fuck.
Yeah, fuck. I didn't know that. Like, just find out about
people
this.
People are talking.
Yeah. So I think that
I just found out about this.
Yeah. So just like definitely like, I mean, that was always like a fearful thing. I definitely saw gay porn when I was little too, and it didn't. I don't know. Like it's weird. The whole porn conversation is weird. Like that, you're able to see that. But I think it was like the fear of that, and then like as I got older and like was depressed and like holding emotions down and stuff like that. Like I remember like I didn't want to talk to anybody. Like when I was like at my most depressed, like I like didn't want to talk to girls, like but didn't want to talk to guys. I thought I was like asexual for like a couple months. I was like, maybe I just don't like anybody. Like, but I was just numbing myself constantly with different things that like I was just so not in touch with myself, and I didn't even want to be touched or talked to. And like I've always like loved girls, like wanted to be with girls. Yeah. Always like Jessica Alba growing up, I was like, oh my God. Like I never looked at Brad Pitt and was like, oh my God. Like it was like I saw Jessica Alba, I was like, that's it. Like so like in my core I know that. And then like, and I told you in like confidence, I'll say it now, I don't really care. Like I remember going to a gay bar with my cousin before. And
how old?
I think I was 21 at the time. And that was like my like asexual phase where I might have been 20. I think I might have fake. And he's like kind of like on the spectrum of, I think,
Yeah, well, that's
bisexual.
the thing is, I guess
Yeah.
just to, sorry to jump in
Yeah.
and cut you off, but like, that's kind of what the point I'm trying to make is like, it is a spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's not, oh, I'm straight or, oh, I'm gay. It's
Yeah.
like, no, like there's levels of like, if you can just be a straight guy and say like, oh yeah, dude, he's fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like he's a hot,
That's a good-looking guy. Yeah.
Then that's, you know what I mean?
cares?
And there's
Yeah.
some people that just like won't even admit that or say that because of the fears of, again, like you were talking about, but sorry to
No,
cut you
you're
off.
fine. You're fine. And like, just, I think being around him a lot, and then like me being asexual, going to like, he want like going to like voyeur, like gay bar, and like I'd go with him because, you know, just hang out, drink. And I remember like a guy hitting on me one night, like persistently one night. And like I was in my weird asexual phase, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like I thought we made out, but like I was like, I'll give him a little kiss, like see if I like this.
What up?
Yeah, let's see if I'm gay or not. And I did not like it. I did not feel good after. I wasn't happy about that. And that was another thing. Like all right, I'm just gonna push that situation down. Act like that didn't happen. Not address that. Not talk about it. Act like that didn't make me feel weird or anything like that, or put myself in that situation. And now I can comfortably talk about it because I'm like, I know I'm not gay and I'm not worried about it. And I did that because I was in a weird spot. And I mean, I don't think it's a ridiculous, like, I feel like most guys have that fear of being gay. Like, I think everyone like had like just the society, like just the stigma around it. So like, you don't want to be that outcast. You don't want to be that outsider. And like, that's what that is. And luckily, I mean, it's getting better now and stuff like that. But you know, I had a gay uncle on my mom's side. We have Brendan, who's gay, who's great. And like, it doesn't matter.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. But like, for like, like, especially like playing sports with us, like, and like, you want to be man, like, which I like being. Like, I like lifting weights. I like working with my hands. I like doing that stuff. I like being a man, like being protective of things, you know, being like the guy that opens the door for somebody, or like for my girlfriend, or, you know, drives or pays for dinner. Like, I like that role. So I think maybe like the fear of not being able to do that role, or be like, think that, I don't even know. But for me, I think that was like a fearful, it's it's nonsense.
Yeah. And I just love how open, and in fact, I wasn't even going to bring that part up. But
I figured you weren't. I was like, I'll just go full speed ahead.
Get to it.
I'll get ahead of this before he gets out.
Control the narrative. But that's the funny thing, dude. I think I'm just convinced. Like, I mean, straight guys watch gay porn. Yeah. There's like, it's just a thing that I'm not saying like it's or not even watch actively.
I think watch is the wrong.
Like,
you definitely. I feel like seen in like middle school. I feel like that's when everyone like first find out about porn, being like, oh, what's this? And be like, oh, it's two dudes fucking each other.
Whoa.
Like, what the fuck?
But like, interesting.
Never even thought of that.
That's crazy. I didn't know that worked. But it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, just talking about it, like, dude, this is what we all feel. And this is what we've all
Who
like.
gives a shit?
And it just is what it is. And the whole thing is
and if you do feel that way, that's fine. Like, who
it's
cares?
good for you. And like,
if you're straight and you're feeling this way, talk about it. Let's get over it.
And just like, I don't know. I mean, the people like, that's what, I mean, people have said about me painting my nails is like, you know, the fact that as a straight guy, I can be comfortable enough to paint my nails and look, like, again, look gay.
You know, the funny thing is, when we were at the gym yesterday, and I like, you have your nails painted, you have a stash, and like, we're walking around together. I had that thought. I'm like, oh, dude, I hope people don't think me and him are fucking each other. I hope people don't think we're a gay couple. And then I was like, dude, that's a ridiculous thought to have. Enjoy time with your cousin. It was just like a quick, like.
It's funny. I thought the same thing when we were lifting, and not because of that. I just thought because you're fucking, you know, big. You clearly know what you're doing lifting, and I'm like in there, and I feel so, which is funny for me. Like, I felt really out of place. I felt really skinny. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, holy shit, dude, I got work to do. Like,
I felt that because I was like, are you good? Like, are we okay lifting?
You said that. And it's funny because, again, like, talk about the body dysmorphia side of things. I've been working so hard to lose weight.
You look great.
And I've looked, I've like lost weight. And now immediately, as soon as I get to where I wanted to get to with losing weight, got to get bigger. It's like,
not good enough.
It's like, never. And then I'll get bigger and it'll be something else. And like, that's, again, like, just talking that out for me was just therapeutic to get myself, you know, out of that loop. But
no, it's funny how we can like, trip ourselves up for no reason.
And something else that we've talked about, and this was the one thing where I was like, hey, I don't know if you're going to want to talk about this. I don't know if this is going to be something that, like, and you said anything, let it fly. And honestly, when I was nervous this morning, there was a part of me that was like, I don't know if I want to talk about this. And And that's why I said to you, I was like, oh, I might not bring up the babysitter thing. Because I don't know, like, I mean, for honestly, my own internal reasons, but also your, like, is this something that Jack wants to get into? Is this something that, like, you know, again, like you said about your dad, like, is this something that am I bringing this up for you? That was like not a big deal or something like that and making it a bigger deal?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess just to like either talk about the babysitter.
Oh yeah, I have no problem talking about it, and I'm comfortable with it. I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I pushed it down for so long. Yeah, like so, you know, when I had to been like 5 or 4, like I have a distinct memory of like playing doctor with my female babysitter and like touching her boobs and stuff like that, and like laying in bed with her and like being under the covers, and like I don't fully remember everything, but I do remember like how her skin felt, and I remember like how her boobs felt. I remember being like bumpy, like I don't even know, but it was weird.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird memory. But I remember feeling super shameful about it after, and feeling like I did something wrong, feeling guilty, and I really feel like that's when I first started feeling like guilt and shame, because I remember like laying in bed like as a young kid, like getting hit with this like wave of shame randomly. Like I couldn't even, like, it was just like a feeling of shame. Like I said something, like it was like I in my head, I like said something wrong, and then just filled with shame. And like I was like, oh my God. Like I remember being like crippling, like laying in bed as a young kid. And I think that's like when like my first rush of shame came, like after this incident. And I felt that like a couple more times randomly throughout my life. Like when I was younger, I haven't felt it in a while. Because probably so used to it.
Yeah. And it's such a young age to like be feeling those feelings. And that's my whole thing. I always say, like, I don't know, just at that age to be thinking about guilt and shame when you're supposed to be like eyes open to the world, like wonder, crowns, colors, like the alphabet, and like you're not supposed to be feeling those adult feelings.
Yeah,
you know?
it's weird. I got like, this is like the first, if I addressed it, was the first time this year and talked about it, because I got hit with that random wave of shame again, and got that memory placed in my head again. And for some reason, my body or my mind was like, text your sister. What's that call? And I'm just going to text her, because I feel so weird right now. I don't want to talk on the phone. And I text her about it, being like, hey, like, I don't know why I'm telling you this right now, but I had a really weird situation when I was younger with the babysitter from down the street, and like playing doctor and touching her boobs and stuff like that. And her being like, yeah, that she did, like, she was always trying to show me her boobs too. Like it was like a weird thing.
And how old was the babysitter at that?
She had to be like 13 or 14.
Wow.
And I was like 5. Maybe, I think she was in high school and I was in whatever I was.
Yeah.
Whatever, 4th and 5th grade, or age 5. But then like just telling her that, and like kind of getting it out there, number one, talking about it, and then like kind of getting like, what's the word? Like, not like proved, but like, my sister being like, that definitely could have happened to you. And like,
Acknowledgement.
Yeah. She acknowledged it. It was like, like something not like that happened to me, but I remember she was very weird about always trying to like show her boobs or touch her or something like that, and being like weird around Maggie.
Yeah.
And because Maggie was closer to her in age. And so just like getting out there and like finally talking about it, because I pushed that down for years.
Yeah.
And that might have been when I first started pushing shit down. Like, who knows? But it was, probably like 4 months sober, and like dealing with all the file cabinet of shit in my head. And like that came up, and it was like, it's another, why I was like the crossroads, like, all right, I can keep pushing this down and not address it ever, and just like feel that shame randomly whenever I want, or go down this road and talk about it and connect with my sister. Yeah. That same type of situation when the divorce happened, like, shut it down or connect with your sister, get closer to the people around you. Just use my sister as an example right now. So that was like, that's why I'm so comfortable talking about it now. Like, it's like not even like, I'm like, I'll talk about it. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? I already dealt with it. Like, it's done. And like, I just think it's so important to get all that shit out and talk about it and get different perspective and like be heard. I think that's, just, because keeping that shit in is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. First, I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for sharing that and being comfortable enough to share that publicly. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, deal with it. And this is one place where I'm very comfortable to flex my knowledge in this area.
Yeah.
That 1 in 6 boys are, face some form of, sexual abuse between or before the age of 18, which is fucking crazy.
That is nuts.
And it's nuts. And it's like, that's the whole thing of the doctor thing. Like, it's just something that I think not everybody, but, and again, it's like weird. It's kind of a weird, like, is it abuse? Is that the right term? As a 13-year-old babysitter who was clearly confused herself, and clearly, like, again, like that, my theory on all this kind of stuff is like, well, like, you don't know what that person went through, why they were going through that, why, like, what made them feel those things. And I'm sure, who knows if this person, has addressed their own, things as an adult.
I hope they did. I hope they're okay.
Yeah. And, that's, dude, how you just said, I hope they're okay.
I don't hold any grudge
Yeah.
towards them at all.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you, and like,
I just had to, deal with the shame I felt from it. I don't like, I can only control my side of the street. And, I can only control, I can't, like, I really hope they're okay and have a good life and they're fine. Like, I don't really hold any resentment towards that.
Yeah.
I hold resentment towards the guilt and shame I felt from it, not from the person. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Because that's why I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. And the acknowledgement thing I think is, as we talked about between this situation, the drinking, that your first moments in childhood, like just the acknowledgement of all this stuff. And that's, I guess one of the biggest,
when everything's okay right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to live in that past.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine. Like we are fine right now.
Yeah, we're good.
Like, we can
chilling.
You can hug that little Jack or that little Christopher and be like, sorry you had to go through that, but everything's okay now.
Yeah.
And you're good.
That's the funny thing.
You're safe.
That's the confusing part. And I may have mentioned this last episode talking to Tommy. I was like, somebody said to me about, preparing for all this stuff. Like you can leave that child at the door today. Where you got to go in here and you got to talk and you got to, try to help other people. You can let that child, be outside and be an adult, be a man. And like, you know what? But after you're done, you can bring that child back inside of you and be like, you know what? Yeah, you're still part of me. But like, I just had to like I don't want to say toughen up because that's the problem of, guys thinking that they have to be tough. But it's just like, I don't need to carry that child at all times. Yeah. There are moments where it's like you kind of want to separate yourself for a second and get back because again the childhood eyes of being like, oh, like you were saying, like judging the guilt, the shame, like judging that child for those thoughts, and then being an adult and just being able to be like, oh no, I can think differently about this.
Yeah, but don't you think like the tough thing to do is deal with that? Like the hard thing to do, to face that like straight on.
Yeah, impossibly hard. And like, I mean, I'm still working through it.
Yeah,
getting through it.
But like I don't know. I think it's like a manly thing to do.
Yeah,
to fucking deal with your shit so you don't trickle out into other people's lives.
Yeah,
and you're there for people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's like again my like, why I think that I have built this company, podcast, and mission for men is to deal with these things so that we stop taking them out on other people. Because I think that when we don't, and I say we because these are the things that I have felt through my recovery journey, you take it out on other people. And I'm not all the way there yet. And I'm still dealing with, the struggles, as every man is, of internal things that they do take out on other people. And that's the thing is a lot of it, not 99% of it is subconscious. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing this because of that, because of this, because of that. And again, a lot of things are tied to childhood. So just trying to grow out of it. And yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like, but it's also, once you do it, then you can start treating people around you better. Yeah. Sorry.
You're good, man.
But thank you. I mean, it's something that I, we'll definitely talk about a lot on this podcast. And, and I think that there will be, many more men to be able to open up and share about all that kind of stuff. But another hard left, right turn, whichever way we want to go.
Yeah.
Back to our Scranton trip.
Yeah.
Your love of love and your attachment to love, and you've got the graffiti, posted all over your apartment of these like love, would you say them like love posters?
Yeah.
Where did that come up? Because like that's just like I mean, more so that when we were up there, like I felt it, like it's intense. Your love for love is like, let's love. Like,
Yeah.
where does it come from? Where does it, like, when did that, is that kind of like, I don't want to call it a crutch, but is that something that you maybe feel is like a crutch?
Maybe, but I just feel like if you have the choice, to live in hate or love, like love feels a lot better. And like that loving energy feels amazing. And the more I can put love into my life and lead with love, like that's when I'm feeling my best. When I am like getting out of my ego and getting out of myself or my judgment of other people, and I'm just being pure and trying to like love and trying to understand people, like that's where I feel the best. That's where I feel like my authentic self. And I feel like that's where like God says, love everybody. Like, so like, I feel like that is the goal in life, is to, touch as many people as you can in a loving way, in a positive way, and spread that positivity and love. So if I can just like have like posters that say love around and just subconsciously drill that into my head, like why not?
Yeah.
And why not, listen to affirmations and like write stuff down and be happy. And just try to focus on love. I'd rather spend my day focusing on the good side of things than the bad side. I'd rather, like I've said before, like if it's raining out, you can be like, oh fuck, I got to walk in this rain. You can be like, oh, thank God my garden is getting some water. Like we have the choice to decide how we look at things.
Yeah, the perspective. Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather look at the loving side, the positive side of things. I'd rather focus my energy on that. Focusing on like, if something bad happens, being like, all right, what's the positive that can come through this? Or maybe this happened, so I didn't go there, here, that, like whatever it may be. And just being open. I just feel like just leading with love is just, it's just so much more powerful, and you get to connect with people so much more on a real level than just, judgmental or leading with like hateful things, or I don't know. It's just, I think once through this whole journey, I've like picked up little things, and like obviously I did it all through like addiction and stuff like that. But like when I was 18 and DUI happened, I got deeply into reading about yoga and like reading about meditation, affirmations, and like I told you about the changing every positive to a negative in like my head. But like that's what's good. It's good to fill your head with positive things, but you also got to deal with your, shit in there too. You deal with your negative emotions. Like my tool was don't even talk about the negative and just fill it with positive. But there's got to be a healthy balance of like, all right, I got to address this shit, but everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But still, I got to address this. So just through like the years of my ups and downs of peaks and valleys of my like journey, I've like picked up little things, and I'm trying to put it all together now. And everything happened for a reason. Like not look at like my whole addiction as like worthless. Like I had to go through that for a reason.
Yeah.
And take
it happened, use it.
Yeah, it happened, use it, and like use the stuff I learned through that. And like I learned good stuff, I learned bad stuff, but that had to happen for me to be where I am today, and I had to get my ego deflated by bad things happening, and choose to see that as a positive, and choose to see I had to go through that, or I wouldn't be exactly who I am right now talking to you, or have the girlfriend I have, or have the job I have, or like none of that happens without this journey.
Yeah.
And I just don't think if whoever's on a journey or whatever their journey is, like don't be too hard on yourself. Just whatever happened, and like try to grow from it.
Yeah.
And if some like I don't know, just try not to repeat
the cycle.
End the cycle.
Because that's the whole that's another thing I talk a lot about. Is like the cycle of all of this stuff. It's like, all right, well, you don't deal with this, then you don't deal with that, then you don't deal with this, and then it's just gonna continue to go again and again and again. And that's what I love. I don't know. I feel like I know I said this to you earlier, but I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. Like the amount of openness, vulnerability that friends share with me, and I definitely put that out there into the world as well. But the way that I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he mentioned like about just dealing with like he's kind of one of those guys where he's like life's pretty good, like there's not too much that he deals with, good family, good friends. He's like, dude, I got I got it. But he mentioned like, oh yeah, I was kind of feeling weird about my career and work and these things and that, and like just the fact that people are willing to talk about it. And like I just It helps. It helps so much.
It's great. It's like so simple.
Yeah.
And like I think we all like made it so much more difficult than it had to be. It's like just be your authentic self and talk.
Yeah.
And just be you, and you will attract. If you're being you, you will attract the people that are supposed to be in your life, the career they're supposed to have, like everything. Just if you're being your authentic self. If you're trying to hide things and be this different person, you're gonna attract not what you want in life, or not what you're supposed to have in life, or you know what I mean? Go down a bad path.
It's funny because the way that you talk about hiding things or being something I picked up from our last conversation that I just, for whatever, like really snacked on was that you talked about like wanting to bond with your coworkers and go out for, like they're all going out and crushing beers, taking shots. You mentioned like stuff like that. Like and you still haven't mentioned anything about AA or?
Yeah, I don't talk about it at work because I mean, I think that's just I don't know, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I don't have to.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like I can talk about it with who I want to talk about, who I feel right. I don't know. Maybe it's an ego thing, and I want people, like I don't want them to not talk about things around me because they know I don't drink, or you know what I mean? It's probably, I mean, maybe it'll be something I address soon. I'm still working on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, you want to but like we bond enough at work, and like I like these guys, talk to them. It's just that my ego side of it wants to go out and like have fun and crush beers and drink with them and like to get closer and more connected. And like that's an easy way of doing it.
It's a bonding experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it sucks to miss out on that, but like it's just like that's not my life anymore. And like it also, like it's nice being like that's just my job and the people I work with.
The separation.
Yeah, like I have my own life, like my career I enjoy, but like if it was taken from me tomorrow, that's okay. Like, or if I get fired tomorrow, which I don't think I will, but, like that's okay too. And it's like not identifying like myself as this is me. No, I'm everything outside. This is just what I do.
Yeah.
And but yeah, maybe one day I'll be comfortable enough to. They know I don't drink.
Yeah.
They know I'm a year sober. They know I haven't drank in a year. I just don't tell them I go to AA.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, maybe next week we'll crush beers together. It's like, they know I haven't drank, and I'm just like, I haven't drank.
That's like the other thing, I guess the stigma around AA or the stigma around the term alcoholic or the stigma around like, not where does it come from? Because it's obvious kind of where that stigma comes from, but like, I guess my question is, like, what can be done to change the stigma? That's
a good question.
Yeah, like, because like, and is it forced, but like, again, it's the Alcohol Anonymous thing, and that's why I even feel uncomfortable because I want to respect the organization talking about it, and I'm already regretting like mentioning the one thing about the 24-hour thing because like I don't want to like.
I mean, that's not a big deal.
You're not supposed to. Yeah, you're not supposed to like say anything, but it's like my whole thing is like, dude, like this could help so many people. And
yeah.
Like,
yeah, well, it's all about.
It does help so many people.
Yeah, they say attraction rather than promotion. So we're just talking about it. We're not like promoting. We're not like go to this AA meeting down here. This is you go do it. We're just talking about our experience with it. Like it's attraction rather than promotion.
Yeah,
that's
and I guess I have promoted it as an outsider because I said I was like everybody could get something from it.
Well, everyone can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I just know that's a term. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean.
But I guess I almost, and I guess the way that I'm thinking about it when I say that is everybody could get something out of it, not alcohol related.
Oh yeah, I agree. I wish there was programs like this for just a normal person. It's amazing.
Well, that's what I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm trying to figure out the puzzle pieces.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how to end that stigma or how to, start. Yeah, maybe this is it. Like, who knows? But I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean. So I will just say, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just so like, dude, so appreciative of your willingness to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah. Why not? Why hide things?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll be wrapping up in a sec, but a couple different things. First, we had a little mushrooms last night.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that was, we talked through it. It was tough for me to be like, all right, am I putting Jack in a bad position with his, journey? This is, again, like addiction. It's just like, but any thoughts on it? Any thoughts on,
Yeah,
we took the tiniest
yeah,
amount.
we took a microdose. yeah, just like literally nothing. Well, like I hate the stigma around psychedelics and mushrooms, because like I read so many things and watch so many things where it's like it's helping so many people with addiction, and it's helping so many. And maybe this is just my own stigma from what I gathered in Scranton. Like they say a drug is a drug is a drug, and the same person and I try not to be judgmental, but like the same person that's saying that's going outside and smoking a cigarette. And I only say that because it's like, all right, so in our society, alcohol and like cigarettes, tobacco, coffee, like whatever maybe is okay. Like stuff that deteriorates your body and stuff that can cause cancer.
Even Adderall.
Yeah, that's like, that is societally okay. But like a drug like mushrooms that is literally like, they call it like class 1 or drug, which means that there's zero medical reason for it. Like there's no medical use for it at all, which is insane.
And it, like medically, in my opinion, medically, it could be one of the most, helpful.
It's like it's not like you do mushrooms. It's not like you're like, oh, I want to do that again tomorrow. It's like, I'm good on that for a while. Yeah, that was a good experience. I got a lot out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm just definitely more open to do it now. And I don't, and if AA thinks that that's me breaking my sobriety, like that's okay. That's I have my own journey, but just the research I've done, like in Bill W, who started AA, like he was saying how great mushrooms and psychedelics were, but no one talks about that.
Yeah,
like he had his own journey with it and was like, this would be great for people to like get that spiritual experience, because that's the whole point of AA is to get a spiritual experience and get a spiritual awakening. And he was finding that through mushrooms, like you're able to have that, that instantly. And it's helped so many, it's insane all the studies that they've done and how helpful it's been with addiction, with depression, with whatever it may be. It's like amazing. And I just personally, I hate the stigma, the society, like whatever societal stigma around it, that this is like a bad drug. Yeah. It's like, it's not at all. And like, because I was starting to feel like bad and like guilty, shameful for like looking this thing up and like doing research on it. It's like, why am I feeling guilty and shameful for a drug that could help me?
Because the story.
Yeah, because the narrative that was created about it. And it's like, and then like I had to get myself out of that and just be like, talk about it with people and be like, you know what, like I'm open to do it, and if it comes across me, I'm going to do it, and I think I could get something from it. Yeah.
It makes me laugh because I forget if I mentioned this last time, but the LSD trip, I went on 2 LSD trips, life-changing, life-saving, absolutely crazy. And when I was reading Bill W.'s story about his spiritual experience, I was like, oh, dude, this guy was tripping on acid. Yeah. And I don't know if that's like, I know that it was supposed to be involved in the AA program. Yeah. But
I don't think his first
spiritual experience,
it wasn't on LSD.
Yeah, but
he got into it later in his sobriety.
I guess I didn't read enough about it, but the way that his first spiritual experience read, I was like, it
sounded like a psychedelic trip.
Yeah, and which could have been achieved through,
I think it was achieved just through like, it was a white light experience.
Yeah, like spiritual, like anything like that. But I was just laughing. I was like, all right, so like we know how to get there. Yeah. And we've just for years.
Dude, and like so many different cultures use it as a spiritual.
Yeah. It's ayahuasca. Like Aaron Rodgers is talking about it a lot now, which is sick. And I haven't even listened to his, what he has to say on it enough. Because ayahuasca is another one that's just like, whoa, like dancing with tribes and all that like different things.
But even like we just like microdosed and we slept great and woke up feeling amazing.
Yeah.
It's like,
is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah. What's wrong with doing that?
Yeah. It's changing. It's changing. And it's a good thing because it's funny. It's gonna, like the next 10 years could be really interesting for so many different reasons. As we were talking about walking around yesterday with technology, mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, like all of the different technology things, how fast everything's speeding up, but also that I think that those medicines are going to be brought, it's all going through FDA right now. It's happening. Shout out like Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, seriously.
Putting the money out there to, fund Johns Hopkins research. I know there's, whatever. I can flex all the psychedelic knowledge.
I like when you flex it.
But there's, NYU, there's a lot like the Boston General Hospital or something like that. Like it's happening all over the world. And I mean, thank goodness, because it is going to help so many people. It's going to save so many people. It's going to bring us all together. That's another thing when and I'll share my long, psychedelic trip at some point. But like, I just remember being like, oh, I'm connected to this world. Like I've been numbing myself my whole life. Like I'm connected. The grass is breathing and like, so am I. And we're the same. And that means so are the people. Like everybody is it's one. And yeah, I mean, still working through all the mental loops that come with that. It's a jungle gym.
Yeah, right. But it's amazing. A drug like that you can't get or is not allowed, but you can go buy a bottle of alcohol that makes you black out and do stupid things and make you more aggressive. But a thing that opens your mind and makes you more loving and more connected to people, it's not okay.
Yeah. And it's funny about, to add on about a relationship with alcohol being like, I've actually took, some mushrooms one time and then had a kind of thing with like, I had a couple beers to like I was like about to have a bad trip or like kind of was like in that, not bad trip, challenging trip. I was just in a weird mental space, had a couple beers. And then like after I kind of tried to think about it, it's like, oh, like I have this like weird relationship with alcohol and like it kind of helped me get out of that a little bit. So like, is it all bad? Is it all evil? Is it all this? Is it all that?
I mean, but some people can have one or two and be fine. And like, I don't think it's all bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for your body.
Yeah.
For being honest. Like,
No matter what, the one or two is not. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, trying to be like, again, it's that 0 to 100 mindset that we all, I think that is the common thread among all addicts is, everything feels like it could be an addiction to me. Like I even mentioned like I said about lifting. I was like, oh, we lifted yesterday. I can't wait. I'm going to get huge. I'm going to go every day.
Yeah.
And I feel that, but like, trying to figure out how, I don't know, to not be. But dude, again, thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's
I
great
love
talking
you.
with you. Love you too.
Great talking to you. But the last thing that I want to always end on is, as I appreciate your willingness to come on here, your willingness to share everything, I want to be able to do something for a cause that you care about, and all, guests care about. And you had a really interesting, I asked you, I was like, oh, do you think of an organization that you wanted to donate to?
Yeah.
And I just started laughing when you told me, because I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is like, not everything needs to be the, addiction, trauma, everything connected. And just let me, or just let it rip.
So my sister and her boyfriend wrote a children's book called It Takes a Friend to Be. It's about a bee and a flower. It's a beautiful story about friendship. And she's an amazing artist, and she did all the illustration for it. Her boyfriend wrote it.
And we'll link like that just to jump.
It's on Amazon.
Okay, Amazon.
It's called It Takes a Friend to Be.
All right, and I'll try to like link. I don't know. Again, everyone always on podcasts. You'll find the link in the show notes. Like I want to say that, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
but I'll figure it out.
So that she, I want to say it's 10% or maybe 5% of every book she sells goes to like bee conservations, to like
Sick.
maintaining them. And that's my shout out to what I think people should donate to and should check out her book. And bees do a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
But I had a friend that in his like college job, I just like spit laughing. Yeah. His college job was to go like sell like bee conservation, like knock on doors and like raise awareness about the bees.
Yeah.
And they do apparently things that I don't understand yet, but a lot.
Yeah, they do.
Shout out the bees.
Shout out the bees. Bees are awesome.
Bees are awesome.
It Takes a Friend to Be by Maggie Kincaid.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You're awesome. Maggie's awesome. Joe is awesome.
Yeah.
Life is awesome.
Life is awesome.
I love you, dude. Thank you.
Love you too, brother.
And
thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks. Oh, I love you.
I love you too, man.
Bye.
Bye.